don't have, let's say, a Sova, you know, to break it easy.
Right? Yeah, you're just gonna have to rely on, like, I don't know, your bullets, or maybe, you know, Forsaken's fragment. But then that's not really what you want to use that for.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a bit of a head scratcher. This entirely duelistless composition is not something that we see all too often. Actually, I don't think we ever see it.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is Paper X after all.
Say that 10 times fast, right? But I will say on Sunset, the Sage Walls are pretty insane because you can get into some good elevations that the smokes of Gen G might not be able to blot out completely. That being this one as well, as we can see here on Market. But Gen G's very aware of this, and Davio is almost taken down. But the separation, though, does allow them to get the pickup onto Munchkin. Now, the rest of Paper X is going to be holding back the site, and they're just going down to work. Gen G not in a comfortable spot, and they're just going to have to try to wiggle their way out of this as we turn into the 2 versus 1. But this could be a quick transition if Meteor can find some good timings on this, but he gave away that location of his because he threw out the camera.
Just a little bit known and obvious, but at the same time, Paper X holding things back. I mean, this is what we want to see from them on the attack, from the defending side. Yeah. You've got that Sage Wall, which is actually really interesting because it blocks off Market, and now it allows for the rest of them just to, you know, be free in a target-rich environment. We know that they're going to approach from A main. We can just hold our ground and start picking them off bit by bit. Mind Freak with that ghost shot, picking up the double kill, and that's the Paper X that we see.
At least for these next couple of rounds, before Gen G gets those rifles, the Sage Wall is going to be somewhat harder to break down, so there should be a lot more safer position for Paper X to drop it in. Don't worry about that angle for a good chunk of the round and just be safe. Anyways, Forsaken, Outlaw, Contact, success. Actually, very successful. 3 kills for the price of 2 bullets. Very, very good start here for Forsaken.
That's, what, 300% success rate? No, that's terrible math. In any
How
case...
could you? We are, you know, we're supposed to be good at math.
Why?
Because we have phones that have calculators, and you can check it.
Good save, good save. That said, yes, I mean, we do have calculators. We have, you know, the credit score being, you know, calculated for us. Forsaken getting a lot of those frags, and it's immediately putting a door stopper to anything that Gen G throws at them. Not to mention Mind Freak out the lurk, and also towards the last kill on towards Karen. They kind of knew that this would be where Gen G was approaching from, and it's just a good check from Forsaken nonetheless. So interestingly enough, we're swapping around roles so much from the Cypher now to the KO. Oh, and a Sage Wall that boosts them up. That's what the Outlaw and the Sage is for.
A lot of the elevation, man. I told you, there is going to be so many cheeky positions that you can utilize this with. And of course, the byproduct of just blocking off a certain pathway that Gen G will have to break or wait for it to break. Which, as you can see, forces Gen G to be a whole lot more respectful of just, you know, pushing up into these certain positions. Ooh, Meteor, boot spotted.
Yeah, they don't want to lose their full buy run all that quick, right? They don't want to give the bonus over to Paper X, and so just trying to be very careful off of it, cut noise, and then the execution through. Texture getting this first frag actually does so much for them because now they have more options, not to mention Munchkin making use of tiles to walk up front on mid.
Did they close the door on Market, though? That's still open, isn't it not? Okay, there you go. It's still closed up, so Forsaken doesn't have to worry about that for the moment. No aggressive push out here for Gen G just yet, Quack. Maybe waiting for, or just letting Paper X cook for the moment, but since they have to, some of their players have to go for the half. Absolutely terrifying. Texture's already here at the front lines, and the damage, the aim, the lethality, absolutely felt. Forsaken pushing in, picks up so many weapons. This man is an absolute Inspector Gadget. Charon.
Can't reload.
Oh, man. He's waiting for his teammate, though. He's waiting for something. Who has the wingman? Oh, no, the stun. The way he actually loses is he does not. Charon. 2 headshots. Holds it off, even through the pressure of utility chasing him down to the ends of the earth.
Yeah, you can definitely see a slight bit of miscomm, a bit of a mishap towards the end of that round. Forsaken starts things off incredibly well. Of course, Gen G tempers with that just trying to play carefully around mid as well, you know, gathering up towards A and then executing in. But then, just at the end of it, although Forsaken picks up the frag, you know, like you mentioned, swapping weapons, something I think wanted to pick up another rifle and just, you know, wasn't quite there to support Forsaken on characters whiffing. So Charon just pops off, and now back to it. PaperX does not want to let up.
Yeah. Again, that's talking about it, man. This Charon newcomer for Gen G already showing why he's, you know, in that spot. This time, though, it will get punished. Devi holding a very high angle here. Not going to get spotted, so he will get some damage in, but Meteor somehow manages to get that backside control already, opens it up. Will not have the North up for the moment at least. Does he activate it? Paranoia, huge. Is he really going to thrash for the overkill? I love this! And Lakia, welcome! Okay, I was about to welcome him, you know, to the Blades, to Tondo Gaming, even though it is PaperX.
Hey, we're not in Tondo.
True, we are in Sunset. You know, it's located in, whoa, LA? Thank you.
But you gotta admire the movement, the way that something plays off of this. You know, just securing the round. My kill, yeah. He's off for that 4th quad, right? And also one more point after having spent the Thrasher.
Yeah.
But it's mainly, you know, playing off of that Dizzy. They managed to pick up those kills as Gen G tried to make a play through mid. So PaperX definitely adapting around it, getting a lot of good information because of their utility.
And again, you know, just to get in a different point, it felt that this is the comeback for something in this specific series. Is Forsaken. He's been putting the hours in that Outlaw, man. I mean, he doesn't even have to deal with the headshot. It's all body shots for him.
It's an answer back to whatever Meteor and Texture did to them on that map 1.
Fair enough. Mind Freak now repositioning. Smoke doesn't allow him to push outside of market cleanly, but yikes. Is he going to get thrashed in here? Actually into the pit with Texture and teammate. Doesn't matter, though, as they chase Monyet into the back of the site, the rest of PaperX was there to trade him off.
Not afraid, right? To throw his body in so that his teammates can kind of use him for information. And that's kind of how PaperX reacts so quickly. As soon as they can confirm that the hit was headed towards the site, you had everyone rotating over and just to kind of set up around it. Forsaken getting those 2 kills just pretty much confirms that the hit was headed towards B.
Okay, I was waiting for like something else for him to say, and he just said guys, so yeah. Anyways, this change of graphic means that we are calling the timeout possibly from Gen G. I don't think PaperX will, you know, with how much aggression and success they've had in these rounds, be the one. And I guess you're absolutely right, right? Outlaw, it's getting so much impact as of the moment. And it seems like, again, Gen G can't really find that answer against it because they've just been slow creeping up into positions where Forsaken is readied for them. And another, a double up to this is he's not the only one playing. It's him. Right behind him has been something, right? So if he misses, something immediately throws out the Dizzy at a high enough angle, it flashes the rest of Gen G, they back away, allows Forsaken or something to reset the fight and put themselves in a position where they're more ready to go for the second encounter.
That's actually such, like, the interesting thing about this composition, because the initiators kind of double up as duelists. They don't have the same mobility, but with the flashes that they've got, it's almost like a Phoenix, but better.
Yeah.
And it just really, you know, kind of allows them to make such plays, but it works out on the defense. On the attack, we'll have to wait to see. Right now, Gen G has caught the timeout, so they've definitely switched something up, going for the full commit into A instead.
They have
showstopper, man.
Very much committed a lot of utility just to get into A main. They haven't even pushed yet on Link. They haven't committed to push yet on Elbow.
I'm scared about this Elbow.
Truly, but look at how many players are already here on tiles. Does Munchkin hear the footsteps, though?
I don't...
He tucks himself in the corner. They might not be able to clear him out, and he might get the best sandwich position of his life. He needs to do something right here and now, which he does. Devi does go for a trade. No walls just yet. He actually boosts himself up. What a chat moment here from Devi. Texture left on an island. He's got the showstopper. Devi, say your prayers, and that's going to be that Gen G. Oh my god, they got pressed by Paper Rex, but they got themselves out of a tight situation, courtesy of the man, the myth, the Texture.
Made the round expensive, but yeah, Texture. What a way to bail out the team, just committing the showstopper.
Standing.
And truly blowing things up to secure one more round for Gen G.
Ooh.
That said, though, I mean, Paper Rex, what a good way to push down tiles.
I love the reaction, sorry, that he just did. Was a quick sigh into a haha. All right, same play here for Texture. No contact just yet, though. Just
I've got your
no, they're really pressing up into this. They're not slowing down compared to last round here, Quack. So it is a full commitment right now for Gen G. They want to get a quick start onto this post plan from the looks of things. They want to position for that,
planted.
for the good goods of this, as I mentioned, post plan, and save up as much utility for when Paper Rex tries to come into the site.
Yeah, right, same thing coming through. They know that Paper Rex is definitely not going to make the exact same play. Something investing into this operator as well. So unless they can get clear vision, it's going to be so difficult for them to break through. But that's a great way to start.
Absolutely. Meteor into the corner here. Loving the use of the wingman to actually clear corners rather than defuse the spike. If he gets a target, that's an immediate concuss for you. And Texture's just so far. Even if he can win some of the fights here, he's just way far from stopping something from defusing that spike.
Unbelievable. I mean, maybe it was Gen G overextending a little bit outside of the smoke. They wanted just to check for information, but punished just as quick by Paper Rex. I mean, the Outlaw being fired off, but then everyone else just coming in just as quick. And you're talking about Texture, but Paper Rex, the movement that they got, I mean, Monyet, maybe just a little bit more comfortable on this this Omen.
Yeah, there's also that point where Lakia wanted to push out of his flash, but he flashed nobody, and then he just didn't know how many players of Paper Rex deal with as he was holding that specific angle on A.
So off of that round now, it's another save for Gen G. Try to play things slow and careful. They don't have all too much. You've got Texture on the Guardian, so you want to make the most of what you have. Back towards A, and you can see that Paper Rex are changing things up again. You've got control over B shops, B main, and you don't see anything. So you have an idea of what's about to happen. That is why Devi as well as Monyet are playing that far back on A site.
And again, if this is a full commitment of like majority of the players of Gen G, if they push out through elbow like this, the slower from Device is going to stop them dead in their tracks. With the paranoia, that is a death sentence here for Gen G if they're not careful. Thankfully enough, because of the smoke that they've had, it allows them to get access to the site, but it's a complete and utter disaster when Paper Rex comes out to reclaim what was theirs.
That's just a pretty lovely spray transfer. I mean, you're absolutely right, that's right. It's just a bit of a death sentence for Gen G. You know, they see that they don't really have any options, might as well just commit to something. But what they did not expect was such a setup. First of all, Monyet in an elevated position, and then like you mentioned, right, Devi, he could have thrown out the slow orbs, but he was also just in position to gun down anyone that tries to step through. Now we've got some ultimates on the side of Paper Rex. We've got 3 coming out from Gen G. But, you know, they're not really the ones that you want to initiate fights. Gen G needs a catalyst.
Speaking of Gen G, they're still going for A. Sanity is doing the same thing over and over again.
Thresh push down mid.
Expecting for different results. And the different result is, you're absolutely right. Paper Rex, they've committed for this mid control. They thought that Gen G would actually mix things up and try to go for that mid play. And it isn't. It doesn't. It's gonna be Gen G once again holding for A, but Meteor is lurking. Maybe that's the difference.
It does buy a little bit of manpower away from the rest of Gen G, so Meteor stays towards the back. The rest of them come back towards the front of A. And maybe we just retake from Link.
Thrash activated for the second time. Devi cuts off the corner. Plant denied, actually. Texture somehow manages to pick up a kill with the paint shells. No safe space just yet for Gen G. They have to start holding some crossfire angles while they start defusing the spike, and he's using his teammate as some sort of third POV info gatherer. Not gonna allow them to push up just yet because of that toxic screen. And here comes the contact, and Texture is coming out on top of this, and it's somehow working somewhat favorably for Gen G for a moment right now. But again, no plan on the spike just yet. Numbers still favoring the Korean side, though. Something comes in with the operator, dwindles the numbers a little bit. The TP comes in around the corner. How close does he know? Very close. He knows about it.
Seconds.
Oh my god, no way, Meteor. And he's out in the open field, man. Out to just get laid out and dry in Paper Rex. Full control.
It was a nice flick from Meteor, but yeah, not quite enough. Full control from Paper Rex. I thought things were starting to get really dicey, especially up around Link. I mean, if you look at what Gen G was about to do, yes, they want to get that spike down, but they couldn't quite do it because of the Thrasher that came in, because of this looming threat that was Paper Rex. However, Texture was just held on the other side. And if you look at the layout of the map, there's so much more space around alley, around elbow, and that's what Gen G did. But
yeah,
as soon as that op sounded off, man, things started to go wrong. They had the pressure of the time against them.
And playing on the side itself, unless you're getting pushed in, you don't really have great line of sight on any position on A. So that's just very bad boo-boos here for Gen G.
Boo-boos.
Now they're mixing up. For how many rounds was it? Like 4 or 5 rounds straight. They just kept going A, and now they're gonna try to go hold their way on to B.
Look at the setup on B.
There's something with an op too. Oh wow, they might actually get collab here if they're not careful. Into the corner is also Mind Freak.
Spike down B.
They've come into the trap, man, of Paper Rex here. Come into the spider's web, as they said. They're gonna have to try to pick up this spike if they can. Something's just denying it every single time. Meteor's here, Divine knows about it, and Paper Rex. Is the world back in order now? They're 8-2 here, Quack.
Very much more comfortable, but then, you know, it is still just the first half, right? I still want to see how this composition works on the attacking side. But that said, I mean, this is such an incredible performance. You're talking about it, the Paper Rex fold, but it's also just how they are controlling the map. Gen G actually looks a little bit lost, although they possibly have studied how Paper Rex played this before, watching AVL, but that was when Jing was still in. That was when they had a raise. This is very different. They're not pushing out all that much, and whenever Gen G just hangs back and waits, Paper Rex has a little bit more time to creep up. If they have control over B main every round just like that, with something on the off to vie with the off angle on a Vandal, it is so darn difficult for Gen G to fight back and wrangle for map control.
Absolutely. It just stems to how much more control they have on that defending side, right? You were talking about it. Honestly, I was actually thinking, you know, we were conversing before the game started that it could actually be Monyet that picks up the raise, because it fits well, right? Jing on AVL was on that raise. Monyet plays the raise. You put 2 and 2 together, but no, Paper Rex, they do a curveball. Paper Rex things.
Paper Rex things.
Yeah, you can already see a bit of stress for the coach here of Gen G as they are huddling, hoping to get themselves these 2 rounds as we are almost coming into a close for the first half.
Tell you what though, Asterai, we've got 4 ultimates on the side of Gen G. Texture on this showstopper, I think, is the one shining light that they were looking for. They could really use that to break apart Paper X. So I wonder if Alex can anticipate this. But looking at Devi,
I mean, he does have the safety of Monyet right with him. They don't even know if Devi's boosted here. They are aware of it. Oh my god! Devi might actually get punished, but no, Monyet holding his hand! It's the Paper X security system, dude. And just as the smoke comes up, Devi gets a whiff of Meteor pushing in. And in just the blink of an eye, Quack, 2 drop down from Gen G.
Careful.
The whole game plan has just been thrown in for a loop. How do you recover now? You've lost Texture, you've lost Meteor, both star fraggers. Maybe Charon, but I don't know how much this Paranoia can really do. Look at the sight lines that Paper Rex has covered. Something, in case someone pushes out mid, you're gonna get fragged. If you go through market, maybe, but it's a full 5-on-3 retake. Uh-oh.
Oh, that's the worst possible opponent they wanted to give the kill for, but again, there's nothing really that Gen G could have done in this situation other than go for that close contact. I was thinking they wanted to actually get someone so that they can get into a site. They had the Viper's Pit, but the one person that they didn't want to give a kill when they have a pit is something because of the Thrash. So many things that was working against the favor here of Gen G.
Just so interesting how this composition is actually so good against Gen G right now. Apart from that, also just how Devi was holding off a main. Man, the celebration's going off. I mean, that wall actually, you know, throws off Texture a little bit. If it wasn't there, he might have just felt a lot more free to dive right in with that rocket, but not now. Back off to this, though. Last round of the first half, let's just rush into B. Why not?
Imagine if you actually didn't pick up the rifle there. That would have been very, very bad. Anyways, everybody's blind up until this point, but that snake bite, man, they're just coming into this. We'll call this the Paper Rex grinder. Pushes it up. There it is, 2 remaining players on Gen G, now down to Lakia. He is lighting things up like a Christmas tree. But it's all for naught as he loses the bullets, and there's still 2 remaining players of Paper Rex alive.
Oh, good attempts. But still, yeah, this Paper Rex branded grinder, sold to you for $19.95. Chew up pepper grinds and everything else along with it. And along with it, some Gen G members. Unfortunate, but, you know, it's just that last round. They didn't have all that much left in the bank.
Yeah.
And, you know, they just want to try whatever they could throw.
What did it say? I wasn't reading it.
My BF loves you more than me.
Oh. It's okay. At least, you know where the extra love comes from, or goes to.
We've got enough love for every single one of these players out there. They're all trying their darndest to give us a good show.
Absolutely.
But it's definitely not easy right now for Gen G to fight off against Paper Rex. 10-2 at the end of the first half, Asteroid. Although I am wondering about how Paper Rex's composition will work on the attacking side. It also bears saying that now that they've got so many round wins under their belts, all they need is 3 more, and that's not all that much. If Gen G can't even pick up a pistol, it's going to be trouble. But that is something that our desk was talking about. Paper Rex needing to get more pistol rounds, needing to secure those subsequent rounds after the pistol too.
And this could be the make or break for Gen G, because when you're in this position and you lose the pistol round as Gen G, you're forced to force buy. You do not want to play 12, let's say 12-2, or 12-2 with nothing, but you know.
So
like
when it's 11-2, you got to straight up just force buy, try to scrounge something up together.
Absolutely.
And that's why there's a little bit more pressure onto these Gen G players' shoulders right now. They have been showing us a lot today. Texture has been fragging out. Meteor as well. Let's see if they can keep it up.
I also wanted to add as well, Devi, he's been the utility boss on this Sage. No safety for himself. He just full blasts, get everything. No shields, all utility. Man is giving his effort. He's giving his life for Paper Rex at this point. There's the wall. Cross it up. No tripwires to be afraid of.
Wow.
Planting the spike very quickly with the wingman here. And backs away safely, only leaving, actually no, 3 players very nearby willing to fight inside near the smoke.
Crazy. Dizzy out as well.
Oh, okay, they're going to keep fighting this one. But look at how cleanly Paper Rex are just breaking them down. This wall is separating fights from Gen G. They can't even create these crossfires anymore. And now here's the number game. But Gen G strikes back, leaving Mind Freak by himself. Does he have the time? Does he have the utility? Does he have the angles with the Sheriff?
No.
And that is a resounding no. Gen G, when all looks lost, Paper Rex pushed in, and they counter, they strike back.
This might be a dated reference, but that's a no for me, dog. Dude, I mean, they looked so good on that execute. You got Gecko, you got Wingman, little homie, getting the plant in for you. Nobody was there to really do anything because of Devi's wall, right? Blocking off market that way, but Gen G just kind of holds back. I was feeling a little bit iffy about a full 5-on-5 retake. But as soon as the firefight started to break out around Pillar, Paper Rex started to push past the Pillar, and there was that little bit of a crossfire that Gen G made use of. Karen getting those frags out now. Devi just couldn't have a good time. So, Gen G moving forward.
Great start, for the second half. Yeah. We're talking about how it's not yet over just yet. Okay, Monyet finds it. Quick trivia, by the way. If you're going to be a Cypher, playing outside of B, you want the tripwire on the floor because it's harder for the opponents to break it. But obviously they can jump over it. But you know, just a quick FYI. Anyways, going back into this for Paper Rex. They're coming into market. Munchkin hasn't even cleared this out just yet, and he is full blinded. Can he even find something with the judge now that Dizzy has offloaded himself on him? Absolutely not. Texture does force back everything, and then you can see Paper Rex trying to find a different angle at this point, coming up the top mid, but Charon denies with that Spectre.
So there's a little chance Forsaken with the judge. I don't know how useful it's going to be. Lakia coming up from behind is the one that you want to watch out for.
One enemy remaining.
There he is. Doesn't want to overreach his lead too. Right? They still know that any player of Paper Rex with any upgraded weapon is very much scary to deal with at this point, so they can always just do that. Yep. Put him in a spot is most advantageous here for Gen G. A solid second round in that second half.
Yeah, let's bring back some Gen G rounds. But of course, it's a good bit of damage coming out from Paper X as well. So a couple of these players, Karen, Munchkin, not quite being able to afford the bigger guns. That could be a problem as Paper X seeks that match point round.
This is a nice spot.
Come on, little homie.
So of course, it's a little bit important for them to really play off of this.
Yeah.
Either bait your teammates or hang back because they are the controllers.
Yeah. Like how the Blade actually clears more of B main. Since, on bonus round, some players will just play on the back of that board. Thrash activated quickly. Not sure if it heard where the tripwire was, but Monyet is very much controlling this back angle for now. Devi also leading it, or rather defending the gap. So it's a pretty clean take here from Paper Rex. They just had to use a bit of utility, but it works solely in their favor.
Still though, that fight across the pillars. As soon as Devi stays back.
Can he get his ace? Oh yeah, he can. There it is.
I was the sword.
He was the sword, he was the shield, he was the healer. Mans Devi, the Swiss Army knife of Paper Rex. What you need him to be, he will become.
The boulder and the mountain.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a bit of a round against a half buy, but you were talking about the tripwires, you were talking about the executes coming through. All of that is actually just straight up negated because of Devi's barrier orb. Put up, Meteor can't really do anything against it. He might have the tiny gap, and even if a trip does go off, it just gets blocked.
And that's a big problem because they want to get that punish, right? Monyet is so far in front of this. That pop flash is gonna blow up in his face. Lakia does get the trade. Does signal the Paper X to start moving their way quickly into A main. Devi, because of that ace, also now has his res up. So they're looking for a trade here where they can either bait their teammate for a res or just res them to res them. If that makes sense. Oh, Lakia finds one. Tripwire. Meteor holding at the corner of this site. Look at how Gen G has just gotten all control in A main. This leaves Paper X in such a tight bind. If they realize this, they might be able to push at the back of the site. But at this point, Munchkin and Charon just grinding their gears and cleaning up the rest of Paper X, trapped again on elbow.
Yeah, a bit of that inverse where Paper X wanted to retake from the earlier half. This time, Gen G just making sure that their feet are planted firmly on A site, gaining control over, the side, over Link, Ali, and then Munchkin coming up from the back of the elbow. Paper X were the ones stuck in that choke point. So it's a little bit awkward, especially when Monyet dies that early on in the round. But again, keep in mind, only 2 rounds away from closing this out. Alex calling the timeout now.
Okay, sorry, I was getting into the vibe of the timeout here. But you know what, Gen G, they're getting their second win. It looks like they have a lot more understanding of how to play when they're the ones on that defending arc, right? And it is working a lot more for them. The thing is, I also wanted to add, you know, we were talking a lot about how the barrier orb is negating the tripwires and everything, but if you look at it, they are committing a lot of utility just to go through into the site, which doesn't leave a lot of post-plant abilities here for Paper Rex, so it feels like it's just going to be raw aim.
Yeah.
But then at that point, Gen G can match them up, which, again, works in favor of Gen G.
Has been on the pistol.
Exactly.
I don't think Paper Rex does that too often, though, unless especially they have the Thrasher and they really want to make that play work.
Fair enough.
What we haven't really seen too much of is a play from mid. I think Monyet tried to explore that option earlier, but didn't quite work out too well. So it's back to another A. Question is, how do we break through elbow? How do we break through this main push? Lakia is holding such a tight angle. And of course, you've also got Karen, who's possibly going to position himself in an elevated angle up towards either site or link.
Wow, look at how both teams actually scramble from A main. Imagine if Paper Rex just pushed that.
I could see, yeah, a timing push, though. If they throw that Dizzy past the bells, might be good. Maybe they're just waiting for that smoke to go off. There it is.
Karon's already out there, though. Even if he gets like double blinded for the Paranoia and the Dizzy, he's already out. That's why they actually left it, because Meteor has this camera marking up all the way on elbow. Spots out something, so that means that this could be a straight-up push. Where are the tripwires for Meteor here? That's going to be the important part right now, as Karon is going to try to feed off of it. Paranoia into the corner. This is going to be a very tricky time for Paper Rex, and they're going to have to try to do a lot just to get into that site. Quick little res for Lakia, or rather for Forsaken, but it immediately gets refragged by Lakia. Thankfully enough, Monyet was there to punish. Dust settles, and there is the site taken. The numbers advantage for Paper Rex, as well as the long rotation here from the rest of the Gen G players still alive.
Trade's good enough, but Texture on the flank.
Okay. Boom. That was quick. I was looking at.
They each got their one.
That maybe Texture could have gotten something, but you're absolutely right. Pop shot for pop shot, 12-5 in Paper Rex. They only need one more.
We're just reading the game really well. Although, yeah, it does not do all too much against Karon. It gives them enough space. And once they had that space, they were able to execute into the site, you know, just making use of the flashes again or going past it, having the players to really come in and trade out for each other. That's Paper Rex style. Every single one of them capable of fracking. And also, Monyet having a good time, the young gun on the stage.
No. Sorry, I was letting you finish off what you were saying, because it seems like Gen G was trying to just get that heavy contact on B main, hoping that Paper Rex was huddled up. Not gonna happen this time. Paper Rex immediately activate that null command, and as his kills steps into the direction of kills, wins rather for Paper Rex in this series. Meteor gonna have to run away for dear life. Thrash activated once again here by something. Devi holding mid control. Lakia wins that out. So at least they have to deal with the possible flank. But control of the site and timer started to tick down here for Paper Rex as that spike has been planted down. Okay, Paranoia is activated. This is good. They're using this to bounce Texture off with the showstopper. Flash out for Forsaken. Oh my god, how did they actually get these punishes? But still, Karon lights up the entire house. 2 versus 1. Monyet coming into the corner right now. And it's all up to him. Can he get it? First one, very low in HP, but Lakia locks it in. 12-6, and Gen G hold on.
Down to 5 HP, really close. But thanks to a bit of body blocking from Karon and just Mindfreak having to do extra work, a little bit more difficult, Gen G stays in the game. I mean, the way the entire site hit breaks out, Gen G just couldn't quite hold off. And like you mentioned in that retake, Texture showstopper, you know, not quite being able to do what they wanted because Paper Rex knows exactly how to respond to it.
We'll say, though, because of the threats of both that Paranoia and showstopper, granted they didn't get any kills, feels like that was the opening that Karon needed to get those frags rolling for him. They called immediate down on this wall, though. Texture's playing very close into this. This could be an opening for both of the teams, and there it is, man. Something doesn't miss. They can up this wall once again. Munchkin has to get close. He needs, or he wants to just stop them from picking up anything right now. Okay. He is preparing his snakebite for it. There it is.
Doesn't negate the wingman, though.
Spike planted.
Definitely does not, but has a whole lot of commitments of walls to just get that wingman in. And if Lockett can get this first frag, which he does, that's a lot of access points for both him as well as Charon coming in through B main.
Comes down to gunplay.
Oh, Paper X realizes though, so they have to force fight this. Can Forsaken hold on, let his teammate at least fight for him.
Enemy remaining.
Cannot. And as the dust settles, it's Monyet 3 versus 1. And he's not even planted for him. He's trying to get closer and closer, but that spike is just diffusing in front of his eyes and he can't do nothing for it.
Good stutter step from Lakia. That's a nice idea from Paper X. You know, we've seen this execute already with the barrier orb, the gecko coming through. Great shot from something to open things up, but towards the end, like you mentioned before, Asarai, the whole thing just comes down to gunplay towards the end of it. All that utility has already been spent, and as Lakia gets the frag from behind, it opens things up so much that the rest of the Paper X kind of got, you know, pinched down inside B main. Can't really fight back because of that. And
Yeah,
of course the guns that they had, you know.
Yeah, fair enough, you know. Better firepower here for Gen G to make do with. One-way smoke always planted there on A main, but without the dog, Paper X a lot more confident to actually push through this. But here's the thing. That Sky has not given away his position. So if he can play close enough, a guiding light could actually be a punishing play here, but the bait and switch for Paper X, they immediately knew what was up. Meteor though, yeah, mentioned it. Quick to go for the trade, but Monyet, unstoppable at this point, just keeps going in, and it's trade for trade, but Paper X, as these dust settles, as these fights come to a conclusion, is looking to get a little bit of the advantage, and that is just enough for them to work with. Texture coming into the corner right now, finds one. Everybody backs away onto elbow here.
Oh,
they
Munchkin
got the
wants a
utility,
gun.
they got everything. Munchkin, it's gonna be big for him. He needs to find something right now with this flank.
wants a
because
gun.
Texture is
One
about
enemy
to
remaining.
get sandwiched in. He's found himself that Phantom as you were talking about, but something's just too quick.
Attackers
He's just
win.
too good and he's just too fast, and that's going to be that for this series. Paper X claim it.
Nice little setup towards the end there from Gen G, but of course Paper X dismantles it with gunplay and just moving up front bit by bit. I mean, throughout this entire map, we've been seeing so much and such an interesting composition. Gen G being able to extend their life by so much longer. 5 rounds on the defense, but still 10-2 in the first half. Paper X does it all, and I think something and Forsaken on these roles. Devi on the Sage also has quite a bit to say.
And again, Paper X, they got a lot of time to cook new things up. We were expecting the same composition that they've had in the previous tournament, maybe just allotting Monyet into the agent selection that Jing has, but no, he's his own man, he's his own person. He's got a whole new slew of things that they can bring out and utilize, and you saw that, you saw it, you see it here.
Yeah, Shrouded Steps inside of his smokes. I mean, it's the same stuff that he did on Global, just on a different team and enabling them in a different way. The paranoias at times also helping out the team so much. I mean, Monyet has been putting up good numbers so far today. The entire team has been doing great, but of course at the same time, Gen G, I mean, what a way to start off the map. What a way to start off the match. Still though, towards the end of it, I think the bigger thing to focus on is just this duelistless composition working out so well. It just shows whatever role you play, as long as you are that good of a player, you can still make it work, because I'm seeing a big number on the First Blood stats under Forsaken and Something's name.
Loving that, man. And again, it's a celebratory picture here for Paper X. I feel like a lot of fans were, you know, a bit scared of what happened on that first game, but Paper X, they brought back the status quo.
I know I was.
Yeah, because our predictions was in danger. Anyways, we're going to pass it on to the interview, so there you go.
VCT Pacific Kickoff Day 3's first win goes to PRX. Congratulations! Woo! The fans, I can hear the fans shouting. They're so excited for today's win. Something. I mean, tell me about it. Your team was the champions last year, so there must have been a pressure for your team. So winning for the first match, how does it feel?
feels great after off season for 6 months. It feels so good to play on LAN tournament with my friends. Yeah.
네, 작년에 이어서 이번에도 또 우승을 이어갈까 많은 팬분들이 궁금해하고 있는데 이렇게 멋지게 승리로 시작을 했습니다. 그래서 소감이 어떤지 물어보니까요. 작년에 이제 6개월간의 여정도 굉장히 재밌었는데 이번 시작도 굉장히 좋다고 좋아하는 모습을 보였습니다. 다음 질문도 이어가 보도록 할게요. 되게 맵 1과 맵 2에서 되게 정말 어려운 그런 상황에 많이 닥쳤어요. 그런데 끝내는 반전을 통해서 승리를 이끌어 갔는데 새로운 젠지 팀에 대해서 어떻게 생각하는지 또 물어보겠습니다. It was a neck and neck match on map 1 and map 2, but at the end it was Peripherals obviously. But how do you think about the new Gen G? How was it handling them?
Actually, Genji plays so great, especially Meteor and Texture. Yeah, the Texture so good this game.
사실 젠지가 정말 좋은 플레이를 오늘 보여줬다고 메테오와 그리고 텍스 선수가 좀 굉장했다고 역시 칭찬을 하는 모습을 보이고 있습니다. 다음 질문도 이어가 보도록 할게요. 맵3 선셋에서 좀 신기한 조합을 보였어요. 타격대 없이 또 세이지를 기용하는 모습을 보였는데 또 머니엣에 아주 훌륭한 에임도 있었죠. 이거에 대해서 썸띵 선수에게 물어보겠습니다. So at map 3 sunset, it was unusual calm to see no duelist, Sage, and also Manya's crazy aim. So can you tell me about the behind stories of this?
In off season, when Sunset came out, we was cooking so hard. We never take a break, even one day. So I guess it's hard work on Sunset, and it's meaning we can play without duelist in Valorant.
Okay. So you were like really prepared for
Yep.
this. 네, 저희가 오프 시즌에서도 이 선셋이 맵이 나오자마자 굉장히 열심히 연습했고 그 열심히 연습한 결과 그 노력이 오늘 보이지 않았나 싶다고 아주 겸손한 모습을 또다시 보여줬습니다. So now we have a little present to give to the fans here. Do you know what it is?
Yeah, I saw it.
네, 이제 인형을 또 팬분들께 전달할 순서인데요. You can write your signature on the back or wherever you want. 썸띵 선수의 행운의 기운이 깃든 사인이 이 인형에 들어갑니다. Who's the lucky one to get this doll? You can go up to the audience and toss it to them. Huh?
I dropped okay.
No, you can go like, yeah. Please throw it nicely. Someone can catch it. Yes, at the front row, the lucky fan got it. Woo! Thank you, something. It was a nice time talking to you, and good luck to your next game. 지금까지 썸띵 선수와 인터뷰 해봤습니다. This was something of PRX, and I'll toss it to the desk. Bye.
Okay, now I'm actually wondering if somebody can throw it from like the middle of the stage.
Well, I think we had Governor do it actually just yesterday.
From the middle of the stage?
Yeah.
He launched it actually.
Stood his ground.
There you go.
He's got a pitcher's arm on him
Exactly.
right there.
But definitely, for PRX, they definitely hit the mark here because they get their this win versus Gen G, and they become the first team to advance into our playoffs.
Yes.
That they do. I mean, hard fought. I think harder fought than even I had anticipated, even though I said that this was going to go to 3 maps. But in the end, I mean, clearly just a lot more comfortable and very much catching Gen G by surprise with this composition were Paper X.
Yeah, I mean, this composition, we mentioned a couple things before we had to jump right into the game, but obviously, first of all, starting on that defensive side, so not even that duelist, not going to hurt them as much, and then so much utility to delay, but on top of that, so much combo as well. So many mollies on that squad alongside the slow orbs, and then on top of that, they still pushed out aggressively and just took over the entire map on most of those defensive rounds where Gen G just felt corralled, even though the opponents were supposed to have the passive composition.
Yeah, I mean, you can see just how brutalized Gen G were on this one. 16 first kills to just 4 for Gen G.
Oh.
That is a really, really rough stat.
Only
Yes,
4 plants.
Yeah, a couple conversions in there after losing a member early, but widely things were just not going Gen G's way whatsoever. So being prepared for these curveballs that the likes that Paper X and some of the other teams, especially if you want to go internationally, you have to be ready for this kind of thing to come up, and you have to be able to figure out mid-game how you can pilot around it, how you can deal with these setups.
And the other thing that's going to be hard for potential other opponents of Paper X to figure out is, oftentimes when you see that stage, you're like, okay, maybe you've got some kind of crafty walls or something like that
at these new angles, yeah, you saw a couple, but nothing too crazy. But it was more so just how reactionary Divide was during mid-fight to put up those walls, to create another angle, to go for those double peaks, to go for those trades. So that kind of speed, not everyone has it. It's not going to be something that most opponents can figure out. But like you said, for the entire match, Gen G did put up enough of a fight, but PaperX, they gathered themselves just in time to come out on top.
It's almost like Divide was using the Sage walls as like a jet smoke,
Yeah,
right? Almost like
actually.
wall up and then re-angle right away,
Yep.
right? That's how quick he was. But it did feel like Gen G, just because of the amount of utility at Kilios that PaperX was throwing at them, they lost steam. And how could you not when you have like mollies left and right and a snake bite here and so on
I mean,
here?
just look at this composition. There are so many layers to what you can do for those kinds of setups to just flush people out of certain angles, hiding behind corners, etc. You've got a molly on the KO. You've got a molly on that Gecko. The Sage has the slows. You have a paranoia, so they don't know what direction they're running in, and you have snake bites as well to flush people out, as well as for post-plant utility. This is just a disgusting composition. I don't know which player, or if it was Alex that thought of, like, hey, why don't we try this? Whoever it was, they're a madman. They need to be detained.
I mean, it's a very brilliant composition, and in some ways, kind of unlike what you would expect from PaperX, but then they also add their own style to it, so, which makes it so deadly. And that's why they were the champions last year. That's why they're going to be that first team that moves on into the playoffs in Phase 3 as well.
Well, we did ask, right, how do you W gaming without the duelist? Well, basically, you just throw all your utilities, those W for you. And now you have PaperX, the first team advancing into our Phase 3, into our playoffs. Who is going to join them? That's going to be the big question, especially since you have now Gen G and Arc. You have to duke it out to be able to get into the play-in.
This is why you shouldn't have gone for Gen G. If you wanted to pred for Gen G, you could have preded them again in this lower bracket. But these two teams were baited to match each other
They
once
are
more.
meant to be together.
Listen, the only other thing though is I want to point out, I think this was the best chance anyone had to take down PaperX, because they often have trouble kind of gathering themselves in that first match of a season or a tournament. Now that they've come back online, they've showed off some new stuff. I don't know who's there to stop it. I mean, yeah, you know, teams like T1 look good, Talon looks good, TRX looks revitalized as well, but PaperX looks like they've never lost a beat.
Well, we can't tell that. Now they have one of the cards in their hands revealed, right? They now, teams now know that they have something this crazy up their sleeves. Of course, I'm pretty sure PaperX has a lot in their playbook still, but I mean, the teams, it gives them a hint at least.
Yeah, it gives them a bit of a hint, but now for PaperX, I mean, because you already had the bye being the champion, you have that advanced board slot. One win is all it took for you to go to the playoffs. Now you get to sit back and watch the rest of your potential competition. This is such an innate advantage that really rewards PaperX for consistently remaining at the top.
Yeah, I mean, it's many days all the way up until the weekend, right? Not only do you get to watch the other groups, then you're obviously watching the play-ins alongside those who made it to Phase 3. That's a lot of tape that you can prep. And yeah, like you said, they showed one hand, but it was only one match. Only 3 maps here on this patch in VCT Pacific. There's still a mystery.
Plus, it's still kickoff, right? Of course, they would have that. It's like, okay, sure, we can reveal this right off the bat. We have the rest of the year to go through, right? But we also have the rest of the day to go through as well. And when we come back, we're going into series number 2. It's going to be Bleed versus Global Esports when we return.
for your grave, cause your life is yours to save. Ain't nobody gonna change, everybody stays the same. So be different, make a name,
like
huh?
a soldier, I keep on moving forward, always getting closer. I march until it's over, and just like a soldier, I keep on moving forward, always getting closer. I march until it's over, and just like a soldier, I keep on moving forward, always getting closer. I march until it's over, and just like a soldier, I keep on moving forward, always getting closer. I march until it's over.
It's ridiculous, I'm spitting this meticulous and limitless, while others out there spitting shit got hits up on the charts and shit. I see why other artists quit, cause people don't reward good shit. They love to hate but hate to live. Society, you swing and miss, and honestly I get it. Promise me you won't regret it. Wasting energy, forget it. Don't look back, go on and get it. Bite the bullet just a bit, bite your tongue and don't say shit. Make your actions hard to miss, be a legend, not a myth. Yeah. It's obnoxious that I'm conscious, rapping honest as promise. Try to harness, as an artist, stay modest. It's a long quest, I will not quit till 10,000 people going off when I drop this. I gotta make it now, swear to God I'm breaking out.
ระ
Swear
ดับ
to God
ท็อปของ Southeast Asia แล้วนะครับ
I have started play Valorant like since the game came out. Whenever I see players like attend all the tournament, I really want to play. Finally, I have a chance. I'm really excited to show myself.
He controls the team well. He has good reads, good mid rounding, and overall really insane player.
Everyone inside the game is like his mechanic is very good.
I believe that he was the best operator in all APAC.
พอผมได้มาเล่นด้วยตัวเองกับเดยอนก็เห็นว่าเขาเป็นคนที่มีศักยภาพในการเล่นค่อนข้างสูงเป็นคนมีความสามารถถ้าเขาได้เก็บประสบการณ์มากขึ้นกว่านี้อีกสักหน่อยผมคิดว่าเขาจะเป็นหนึ่งในผู้เล่นที่เก่งมากๆครับ
I feel like he's one of the best entry fraggers in the game. My main role is like Sentinel, where I watch the flanks and like hold down the side alone. I guess you could expect a lot of lurking and clutching from me.
Ego is a very eager player. He always shows up and wants to learn new things.
แต่ในเกมก็จะมีแบบว่าจังหวะที่ตื่นเต้นบ้างแต่รวมๆแล้วก็เป็นคนที่เล่นเก่งครับแล้วก็ยังแกปให้สามารถพัฒนาขึ้นได้อีกเยอะครับ
He has really sharp like mechanics. Like he sits people down like when they enter his site.
I wanted somebody with hunger and somebody with experience, and obviously he's bringing the experience. He knows how to win tournaments. He played on the biggest stages.
I mean, to be honest with you, it really sucked. Because like you go from such a high and then it's like very large like downward trend. You know, I've been keeping an eye out on Bleed. They've looked really strong lately. When they reached out with the offer, I thought it would probably be my best chance of winning.
Every time I watch him play, his aim is so smooth, he'll like rarely miss any of the kills that he will get.
His thinking is like a 9 out of 10. I've never seen like a player with so much like mix in everything. I think he'll be spotlight in Pacific for sure. Everyone knows Scary. He wins us the most unwinnable situations. He wins us the most amount of clutches.
Even if it's like 1v4, you know there's a chance.
ถ้าใครยังสงสัยว่าปีที่แล้วเป็นการตัดสินใจที่ถูกต้องไหมของผมนะครับก็การชนะ Ascension ก็ผมคิดว่ามันเป็นคำตอบที่ชัดเจนที่สุดแล้วครับความท้าทายที่ใหญ่ที่สุดในปีนี้คิดว่าน่าจะเป็นการที่เอาชนะตัวเองซะมากกว่า
Things might start out slow, but it won't matter because I think we'll eventually bounce back. And of course, our final goal will be to make it to champions.
This year will be the chance for us to prove like we deserve to be in the Pacific League.
It's time.
if that first series wasn't enough of a banger for you guys, we have another one coming up. It's going to be Bleed versus Global Esports. We know that this one is definitely going to feel different because it's going to be our first elimination match, Achilles.
Yes, it is. One of these teams is going to be staying home and not going over to Madrid, not going to have that chance to go into the playoffs even. So this is a do or die for both of these squads. Otherwise, you got that long 1 month break.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we just heard something talk about it too. Already a long offseason where they've been prepping, coming up with new rosters, and then to have to kind of put a full stop to it again only after 2 matches, that's not going to feel good. So you got to imagine the players that are going to come out on stage, they're going to give it everything they got, even though it's just the start of the year, it's just kickoff.
The question is, who's it going to be? Is it going to be the IGL Super Supreme team, or is it going to be our Ascension alumnus, right? But I'd say that, you know, Bleed, they did have quite a powerful debut, right? I mean, like, sure, they were up against T1. There were some conditions that were out of everybody's control at that time, but I would say it was very memorable. And as the series went on, though, you could kind of see the gaps in the coordination, but I think that these are easy fixes for somebody like Crazy Guy, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, like you said, I think it's very apparent what they need to fix. I think the strong suits that we were all looking forward to, right? Scary with the clutch factor, Scary making plays. Yay, when he's on a duelist, can he still be that aggressive aimer? Yes, we've seen those moments, but then some of these other role switches, Darion becoming that primary duelist on other maps, and then having to go for that coordination. Ego is trying to be that strong anchor. These are ones where, like you said, communication is key, and we'll see if they can improve on that.
Yeah, I'm curious if Bleed is going to keep to kind of the same trend of putting Ye on things that we're not used to seeing him on coming into this match as well, or if it's going to be like, okay, you know what, it's do or die time. We need to stay in this tournament. Let's go back to something that we have seen you on multiple times and we know what we can expect from you. So there's a lot riding here for both of these squads. And for the opposite side, Global Esports, are they going to continue to try to lean into these solo controller setups that we've been seeing from them in both of their maps that they played just, what, yesterday or 2 days ago at this point? Because it just didn't quite hit the mark, trying to go into something like behind running just that Viper.
And like we see at the graphic right now, Global Esports is a fully revamped team, right? Yes, we do have 3, 4 IGLs on the roster, and it's interesting, but when you compare of how powerful a punch Bleed can pull, I'm not sure what the brains on Global Esports can do to stop that.
Well, and the other thing is, like Achilles mentioned, I mean, with these members who are either primary IGLs or very known for supporting the calling and the communication on their previous teams, I mean, if you're going to change up the comp away from the meta, you've got to show us something new. And quite frankly, we just didn't see that execution trying to force the double initiators onto these maps.
Yeah, I mean, we just had, you know, 2 very good examples from PaperX as far as like trying to force something new. The triple controller for Breeze, as well as the no duelists there on Sunset. And it managed to get them results, at least at the very end. But we saw what they wanted to do there on Breeze, but we never really got that picture here from Global.
Yes, now on the flip side, Ye has been trying to play a lot more with the team. Now, is that good, you know, better or worse? That awaits to be seen. But it is good to see that he's willing to say, you know what, I don't care about my past records, etc. I'm here to work on a new team to build this together to try to carry Bleed Esports forward as a 5-man squad. So if they're on that path and they are able to clean up those comms a little bit, I think I might favor Bleed just a bit.
Speaking of past records, by the way, I like how this match is showcasing sort of like the classic APAC talents. You know, you have Blaze King, you have Benkai, and you have Crazy Guy for Bleed, all the IGLs that have been facing off against each other for years in the Southeast Asian scene, and they'll know each other very well, right? Even Egoist, who was formerly from X10 and SMG, but most especially for Blaze King, because this defeat versus this Bleed roster, if you remember, this was the semifinals of VCT Ascension, so I think that must be very fresh in his head still.
I mean, I'm sure it is, and I'm sure that that vengeance would taste mighty sweet if he can find it here today. But, I mean, this is going to be a bit of a nail-biter, I think. I mean, we saw kind of the frame, the outward frame for Global Esports, but there was nothing colored in. There was nothing built up around it for what they saw. Hasn't been enough for them to come back in here today and be able to show us what the game plan actually is. Another thing that I'm going to have my eyes on as we continue to talk about Ye, if he is going to be playing that primary duelist role today, is going to be him versus Polvi, because Polvi still did look very, very strong. Even if the game plan wasn't fully there for Global Esports, we still did see strong individual performances from him.
Yes, but, you know, I hate to harp on this too much, but even Global Esports is kind of trying to double down on this and say, no, firepower is not the problem. We have it in spades throughout the roster, not just in our duelists, which is why they trust Polvi to just entry. but the kills weren't quite there. Now, the same could be said for Bleed Esports. It's quite one-sided.
Sure.
And I would say this isn't just the number of kills, but the manner in which Scary gets them. So many clutch moments that comes out from him, whether it's him alone or just 2 members left on Bleed Esports. He's the one that they rely on to close out these rounds. And for Bleed, if they want to get a match win, if they want to get the 2 wins in a best of 3, you gotta have the other people start to pull their weight.
I mean, this is exactly why you had this player as such a high-profile person coming into Pacific, right? Because everybody knew that he probably could have gotten on any team in Pacific at this point, but for some reason, he decided to go to Tier 2. He wanted to work his way up there, and he decided to go with Bleed Esports, and now he's here making his mark indeed. But as you mentioned, Achilles, they're gonna go up against Polvi, and Lightning Fast is here. We can see him pulling his weight as well.
Yeah, I mean, and this was a good showing because, you know, ahead of going into that matchup with Global versus ZETA, we were saying, okay, Lightning Fast, this is the guy that they believed in the most. He was the only one being held over from the previous roster where he was a substitute, and he, alongside Polvi, was able to put up strong performances. But it was the more known factors for the squad in Blaze King, Russ, and Benkai that have had performances at international levels before that we didn't see, you know, really being there alongside the rest of them.
Yeah, especially Blaze King, right? He was, in fact, almost the reason that old Boom Esports squad could nearly take down Bleed in the semifinals of Ascension late last year. So curious to see if he's able to carry that form back together. But Lightning Fast, good showing from him. A lot of people question, is he going to be the weakest link? Obviously, not as much experience on the bigger stages, but he comes in and says, this is why I was hungry for that starting spot on this roster of Global Esports. He is definitely carrying his weight. And now if they can come together as one, I mean, overall, the spread, you can see they are working as a team.
That's the big question for Global Esports, especially since, you know, you have these different personalities from all over, and it seems like in theory, sure, it would be nice to exchange information to build this super roster that has, you know, influences from all over. But is it working? We're seeing not quite yet, Achilles.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, given the losses with the power rankings for both these players, they're not going to be super stellar.
Yeah.
I mean, there was still some decent moments from Ye when he was bringing out that Neon for the very first time, but as we shifted over into the second map, Lotus, we were hoping and you know, anticipating maybe he's going to go back to the chamber where we saw from Execute. Maybe it's going to be that heads up, but we actually got to see him on Sky for the first time, and clearly, you know, especially with the nerfs recently coming into Sky, it's going to take a while longer for him to be able to play that at, you know, the top level.
Yeah, and I'm curious if these stats for Ye, I gotta imagine maybe we're only comparing the ones where he's playing the duelist, but even then you see some stark differences in how they're contributing to the team, right? Ye clearly still known for that aim, still just being good for that first kill, that one kill when he goes into that duel. Whereas Polvi, he's putting a lot of damage into the rounds, he's getting the first kills, and he's trying to open and create space for the team. Whether that translates to his KDA overall or not, he said in the interview himself he doesn't care as long as it leads to a round win.
Yeah, and I feel like for Global Esports, it's like, sure, again, in theory, it should work, but I guess as up against Bleed Esports, I'm not that confident that they should be thinking that way.
Well, especially when there's someone like Scary on the other side.
When there's somebody like Scary on the other side, you know, and there's somebody like Egoist on the other side as well. You know, the roles I feel like are a bit more clear-cut on the side of Bleed. They're far more comfortable working as a team, whereas Global Esports, they still have quite the journey to go through.
Yeah, they very much do. So this is going to be, you know, again, a bit of a nail-biter for both of the teams. I do kind of, you know, favor Bleed a little bit more here, but Global Esports, they have a lot to prove and a lot of motivation behind them.
Yeah, and I'm also curious, of course, we'll get to it in a little bit, but of course the map ban picks as well. Both of them played all different maps in those best of threes that they played. Both of them ended in those 0-2, so I wonder if they kind of target those weaknesses or if they're still going to stick to their own ban pick system.
Well, it would be great if we could hear from somebody from inside the team, so it's perfect that we are going to throw it on stage for our coach's interview with Kyungmin.
VCT Pacific Kickoff. 탈락을 눈앞에 둔 두 팀이 만났습니다. VCT Pacific Kickoff, we have two teams fighting for the elimination match. So Pacific first-timer Bleed and GE with the Rosery Jam are standing at the edge. 퍼시픽에 처음 도전하는 블리드 e스포츠 그리고 리빌딩으로 도약을 시도한 글로벌 e스포츠가 그 주인공인데요. 각 팀의 감독들 만나보겠습니다. Hello. Okay, for Bleed coach, I'll ask you the question. You had a match against T1, so what do you think about your first Pacific match? 이제 첫 매치로 T1을 만났는데요. 어떤 게임으로 인상이 남았는지 묻겠습니다.
Obviously, we are not satisfied that we lost, and I think that we had better chances. It was a very tiring day, long day with many difficulties.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, but it happens. It's the same circumstances for them. I think if we would have won Breeze and closed it out earlier, I think the game would have had a different outcome. But yeah, it's okay. You learn from losing.
조금 안타까운 결과였습니다. 좀 오랜 시간 기다리느라 지치기도 했고 많이 아쉬운 마음이지만 특히 맵 브리즈에서 조금 더 그런 면이 컸는데 그때 좀 더 잘했으면 어땠을까 하는 마음이 있는데요. 오늘은 좀 남다른 각오로 임해보겠다고 합니다. So about the match, did you see one with G and ZETA's fight?
Yeah, I've watched the game obviously. I think it was a nice game. Maybe the scoreline was different that it should have been. I think GE lost a few unfortunate rounds in my opinion, but yeah, I think ZETA is overall maybe the individually stronger team, whereas GE I think have maybe more experience, so it could have gone both ways.
조금 정말 모두 다 열정적으로 임한 게임이었고 당연히 봤다고 답했는데요. 제타 모두가 모든 선수들이 탄탄한 팀이었고 GE도 정말 잘하는 선수들이었기 때문에 어떤 결과가 나왔어도 이상하지 않았다고 답을 해줬습니다. 이제 그러면 스핀 감독에게도 질문을 해보도록 할게요. So Coach Spin, how was your first Pacific match?
Terrible.
Yeah, okay.
It sucks to lose on the stage. First big game for the boys, no one wants to lose. But today, we'll be better.
Yeah, nice. 첫 번째 무대에서는 져서 너무 정말 속상하다고 말하는데요. 또 이제 사기다 꺾이기도 하는 마음에 많이 속상함을 토로했지만 오늘은 좀 다를 거다라는 각오를 전했습니다. So the next question is, Bleed has Ye, so can you pinpoint one player from GE? 블린에서는 예이 선수가 두각을 나타내고 있는데 GE에서는 어떤 선수를 꼽을 수 있을까요?
I'm sticking with my man Polvi.
Oh yeah,
Young
great.
Finnish god. I trust, I believe. Today's the day.
저는 폴비 선수를 믿는다고 말했는데요. 여전히 그를 신으로 생각하고 있고 오늘 그 활약을 나타낼 거라고 확신한다는 말을 전했습니다. 그리고 이제 두 팀 중 한 팀은 이제 킥오프에서 탈락을 앞두고 있습니다. 어떤 마음을 지금 갖고 있는지 두 코치님들에게 물어보겠습니다. So, how are you feeling before heading into like what could be an elimination game?
I mean, not much changes really. You want to win every game, you will go with the same mindset in every game. So yeah, we will just focus on ourselves. We are very confident in ourselves. Practice went also good. The veto was actually very good for us also. We expected the maps kind of, so yeah, we are very confident. We will just play our game and see what the outcome is.
네, 자신감이 있기 때문에 이 상황에 상관없이 끝까지 이겨나가겠고 그 자신감으로 오늘 좋은 결과를 이끌어내겠다고 아주 좋은 모습으로 답을 해주었습니다. 또 똑같이 스핀 감독님에게 물어볼게요. So same question goes to you. You Spin, how do you feel about it?
Honestly, not really a lot to add. I think Redgear has answered it perfectly. It's the same as any other game. There's a lot of pressure, of course, but it doesn't really change how we're going to approach the match.
레기와 감독과 마찬가지로 같은 마음가짐을 갖고 있다고 말했고요. 지금 이 상황이 우리 경기력을 변화시키지 않을 것이고 우리도 같은 마음으로 끝까지 경기에 임할 것이라고 아주 멋있는 답변을 해줬습니다. Yes, I will be looking forward to the match soon. And this is the final question. There are so many questions, right? This is the last one. I'll ask if they have any things to remind to the players from you.
Sorry, say again?
For your players, do you have anything to say before the match?
Oh, everything should have said already before the game, so everybody knows what they have to do. I believe in them. It's not their first tournament that they're playing, so yeah.
네, 지금 선수들한테 앞에 말했던 것까지 똑같이 정말 믿고 있기 때문에 잘 해낼 것이라는 아주 굳은 마음 전했습니다. And for Spin, to your players?
Same thing really. We've discussed, we know what we have to do, so it's just to go out and do that.
네, 저희는 충분히 많이 소통을 하고 있고 잘 해낼 것이기 때문에 앞전 답변들과 같다는 답변을 해줬습니다. Thank you both, Redgear and Spin. Best of luck for both of you. Thank you for the interview. 네, 지금까지 양 팀의 감독들과 함께 인터뷰 나눠봤습니다. 그럼 데스크로 돌아가실게요. Bye. Back to the desk.
Well, the coaches did not mince words at all. You heard it. Neither were satisfied with their earlier performances. Redgear mentioned that, Bleed can do a lot better, and Spin just mentioned it was outright terrible, like Kilios.
I mean, I think that's a perfectly fine way to approach that answer, because doing anything else would probably just be completely and utterly disingenuous. So I think, obviously no one is going to be happy about how things went for either of those series, but it seems like both coaches very confident in the teams. They're saying, you know what, we know what we did wrong. We know what the assignment is. The players know what they need to do. It's all going to come down to who executes it better.
Yeah, I think what we can take from those answers especially is the fact that regardless of who they played against, both coaches are recognizing that what they showed on stage was not what they've been looking at during practice. So hopefully today, with both of them coming in with that determination, we're at least able to see the colors that they've been preparing all throughout off-season, because that's what you want to, whether you win or lose, you want to leave that impression of this is what 2024 is going to look like for this team. And if you go out without being able to showcase your playbook, that's when it really hurts.
Speaking of going out, this is our first elimination match, so there is that additional pressure, as the coaches mentioned themselves, and I feel like, you know, right now, well, I think the whole talent pool right now favors Bleed in a certain way, so I think that, you know, there's good reason to. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, goodbye, India.
Wow!
We're gonna go high now. No, I can see the comments right now. Oh,
Look, we like I said, we had a framework from Global as far as what they wanted to do, but they weren't able to execute on it. They had to play yesterday. This is a really short turnaround period for them, and I think we just saw more from Bleed in general that just gives me more confidence for them to be able to take this one down.
And I think that's why also Coach Spin was saying that it felt terrible. I think that's why it was more outspoken, because the way in which GE lost to ZETA, you could tell that they just couldn't showcase anything that they had really planned. Whereas Bleed, we saw some rounds and some methods where they could even take some of the maps. I mean, look, you had talked about it. If they had taken the breeze before it went into overtime, maybe they're able to carry that momentum forward. And they feel like maybe they lost a little bit because of that first set, and they're like, okay, now we've lost steam. So, I mean, you look at all of that, you look at the individual performances as well, and then you count just this wild card factor, like Scary, like Ye, these players who have throughout their entire careers been known to flip an entire match on its head. You have to remember, Scary's that guy that even Paper Rex back in the day was like, if he's the last one alive, do not push, he will clutch against us all.
That's absolutely right. You know, he's scary for a reason, right?
Yes.
And like I don't know. I feel like for Bleed, there is that extra attention on them because they were that Ascension team, right? They are the guinea pig for all of this, you know, happening and being new in Pacific. So there is that, you know, aside from having Ye as well, there is that extra pressure on them to be able to succeed. For Global Esports, I feel like this was not at all what they wanted to show, as you mentioned, Will. But like, I feel like it's just too early for them at this point in time. Perhaps later on during Pacific.
We'll have to wait and see, but I mean, it's multifaceted pressure, you know, for both of these teams. For Bleed, it is because they're that Ascension squad. They dropped their opening series. They have these hype signings in the offseason and whatnot that everyone expects to just be dominant from the outset. And then for the other side, it's Global. You've been in this league. You have players that are veterans that have been over at international competition. Do you want to lose to the new kid on the block, you know, and then have them be the ones that send you out? Absolutely not. But I think for Global, what they really need to do is they need to have a nice, fast-paced start to this series. They need to come out swinging. They need to rack up some opening rounds and just sow that seed of doubt in the heads of Bleed, because as we're talking about, with elimination, if you start falling behind, those thoughts are going to start cycling around your head, and it's so difficult to flush them out. So if you can make them just constantly be thinking about, like, oh God, are we about to get eliminated? Are we about to have this break? Are we not going to be able to go to the playoffs? That can spiral out of control for the enemy team. So Global can get that set up nice and early against Bleed. Maybe they can close this out.
Yeah, and I mean, they've mentioned it during the interviews as well, but Global Esports is a squad with a lot of experience in and around Tier 1 as well. Now, all the members of Bleed Esports have quite a bit of experience as well, but most of them in much smaller sub-regions, right? Not playing against the best of the best around the world. Obviously, Ye not counted in that discussion. But then we also saw that during the offseason. Global Esports, their mentality has definitely improved a lot because of the veterancy that they have, making the comeback that they had at Convergence, things like that. So if you're able to push the pressure first and put that doubt into Bleed's mind, then you have a little bit more wiggle room, even if a couple rounds go bad, because you can regroup. We've seen that. We've heard their comms throughout their own videos as well. They're able to push through to the end and close it out.
And I do believe that. I do believe in experience pulling through. I do believe in, like, you know, the veteranship of everybody that's on Global Esports. But if we're talking about veteranship, on the side of Bleed, you do have Crazy Guy, who has been playing for quite a long while. The Beast from the East, as he was, you know, once known and is now here. I do believe that, like, you know, everybody on Bleed has been saying that, like, he's a cracked IGL. We all follow him, and you know, even Ye, for example, that says something about the potential of this roster. This is only kickoff, so their journey here in Pacific holds a lot more to be discovered for this team.
Yeah, it really does, and I mean, just, you know, the speculation on investment alone as far as this roster is concerned, it's astronomical. It's what people are reporting. And you want, when you're going to be putting down money, you want to be able to get that ROI. And for Bleed, if they can come back out here, they can take down Global Esports, keep themselves in this tournament, maybe getting cracked in a rematch, whatever, depending on how the other matchup goes later today, then I think that they'd be in a very strong position to just already be in a playoffs in their first split.
Yeah, I think, everything that we've talked about, it all comes down to the fact that for GE, they just need to show something new. They need to show us why they've collected these veteran players, that they're able to kind of change their game plan on the fly and showcase something new every round so that you have to keep guessing, because that's the type of thing that's going to shake up a new kid on the block, like Bleach. Sure, individually they have experience, but of course, while they have 3 as a core, you've got these 2 new members who might not be used to the way that you're playing. Obviously, Ye coming from a completely different region, and for the longest time, playing under a very unique style of Valorant back when he was an Optic as well. So GE, that's the game plan. For Bleed, I think the reason they feel confident is if they're just firing well, I think they feel that they should be able to stay just one step ahead for the most part.
Not to mention, Likia did mention as well that the map vetoes tend to favor them. So I feel like, that confidence is already like, oh, okay, all right, Global, let's see what you got, because I think this is ours.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, is that should mean to me, because we don't have that much tape on Global Esports' roster either, that should mean that he's going off of these maps that are very default heavy, very set play execute heavy, and he probably expected GE to favor those. So whether he's prepared for that or ban those out, who knows, we'll have to wait and see. But whatever maps we have, GE has to say, no, we have different styles. Like you said, Achilles, we can push up the pace whenever we want.
Well, right now we have a little question for our audience, right? A teammate with an operator, but no shield. What are you thinking?
I don't know what the choices are, but get me out of here.
We lost this one, or do it for me.
No, it seems, whoa, okay, all right. It's like, do it for me, go for it. I mean, you already gave that big investment, right? You might as well go all the way.
I mean, if it's an overtime, then,
Okay, if it's an overtime, but honestly, given my experiences in ranked games, people haven't given me that trust when I play operator with no shield, so
because
I don't believe the 61% for 1 second.
You play mostly Viper and Yoru when I'm with you, so not necessarily agents that are known for their operating prowess.
Fair. I will yield to that because I cannot deny my match
I kind of
history.
see where the audience is coming from, though. It's like, you invested so much. You go big or you go home, right? So it's like, you might as well have, just saved. Okay, sure, if it's a rifle, if it's a Vandal, sure, safe.
Yeah.
But if it's an operator, you go all in.
I think this just basically means that the majority of the audience, if they're playing with somebody like that, they have faith in them. And I don't have that much faith when I'm playing online, especially even if it's with my friends, I don't have that much.
I mean, we don't have trust in each other when this happens.
It's very true. But yeah, if it's with randoms, then I'm on the we lost this one side of that one.
Yeah. We need a little bit more context
you make it
here,
40%
right?
and 60%.
Right? Who are you playing with in this teammate? But I don't know. It seems like fun. I do believe in that. If you got an operator, just go for it. But I think that if you're going to pose this question to Bleed or to Global, for example.
Well, okay. If it's Bleed, absolutely, because it's most likely Ye picking that up.
I say do it for me. Would they do it?
I think any time it's at the top level, it's perfectly fine and usually acceptable. Obviously you could just get out traded because the other person on the other side of the lobby is also just as cracked as you are. But I mean, we have some fantastic offers out here, so I'd say it's pretty safe if you're going to be going at the pro level.
Yeah, and obviously at the pro level, you're usually all in sync as well. You're communicating, hopefully, I would assume, very well in a pro match. But yeah, I mean, listen, if they already bought it, full send it. Why not put your faith in them? Okay, I'm now converted onto that field.
I mean, it's like my teammate is Ye, so it's like, yeah, sure.
We should let the viewers, let the viewers at home know in case they don't, you can refund weapons. You can, you can backpedal off of your poor decisions.
There is that option, yes. It's a video game. You have second chances.
Yeah.
You have ways to remedy your mistakes.
You can't say oh, well, I already have it, so.
You have second chances, but it's like, oh, it's getting late. This is supposed to be my last game of Valorant.
But what if they tried to drop it because it's a skin and they try to give it to their teammate? Now it can't be refunded.
That's true. And,
gotta watch out for those skins.
If you are one of those people who asks for skins and refuse to play around without it, I hate you.
Yeah, well,
stop doing that. Your behavior is so incorrect.
I can tell you right now, one of them is on the casting desk.
Oh, I see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one of them is on the casting desk.
All right.
He's like, please give me skin. Oh, can I borrow yours?
Oh, okay. Well, I am glad I have strictly been playing on the Korean server, so I'll separate myself from that. But yeah, nonetheless, I mean, listen, obviously the skins are great as well, so I get it, but it's like you only have 30 seconds to prepare for the round. And
they do the same thing. It's a cosmetic. It doesn't make the gun shoot better. It doesn't make your aim better.
It does.
It has no impact on it whatsoever.
I don't know. The sound helps me, okay?
Yeah, I'm on the audio pack as well. It's not the visuals. It's just sometimes just like the way my own gun shoots seems to give me the supernatural power where it makes the bullets magnetic, you know? I'm just saying.
Faker doesn't need skins, you don't need skins. End of discussion. The man's the GOAT. If he doesn't need his skin, then no one needs skins. You should still buy them.
Wait, hey, he might have skins in Valorant. That's the thing. He
Just
might
don't
have
ask
skins in
your teammates
Valorant.
for it.
Oh man, yeah. The other thing is like you said, I usually play things that like require a lot of setup, right? Like I'm playing the Vipers, Cyphers, or Euros. So please don't ask me for skins because I just don't have time for that. I have to run from one side to the other.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Give
Yeah,
it up
thank you.
here.
Yeah,
We're
there you
too
go.
busy.
We
We're
gotta
too
play
busy.
for wins.
Okay.
We gotta play for wins.
Okay. I'm setting up my swamp grenades. I'm setting up my turret. Please leave me alone. Okay. But of course, you know, we have the elimination match. Once again, putting my head back into it before I think about my ranked games and everything that is disastrous. We are going to be seeing Bleed and Global Esports. And I think that here, you know, for example, we're looking at very individual plays here. We're looking at Ye, we're looking at Polvi, we're looking at Scary, for example, to pull a lot of clutches for this round, especially since, again, that additional pressure for this first elimination match of the year.
Yeah, but that's not... We are looking at those things, but that's not what I want to be looking at, especially when it comes down to global. I want to be looking at that team collectively. I want to see them operating as a unit, because that's something that was lacking, frankly, from both teams in that matchup. ZETA, you know, ZETA, it wasn't like they had amazing teamwork either. They just had some really good clutches and, you know, got themselves bailed out. It was better overall. So I want to see global be coming into here and having a nice, concise, synergized game plan. Because if they don't have that, then even if they win this match, they're not going to stick around for much longer.
Yeah, and of course, in that matchup against ZETA, it's also because ZETA has that storyline of these rookies coming in, right? And they performed well, so that was kind of exciting to watch from a roster reshuffle. But Global Esports, they're mostly all veterans. I mean, even Polvi, he's been playing in that Challengers League for some time, so they need to come up and say, we've had the experience way back when, we're now here to prove that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they will be proving as we step into the second series of the day, right? Bleed Esports versus Global Esports. Can that veteranship on the side of Global Esports stand up next to this Ascension alumni over here? And especially since Bleed Esports, as we know, they do have a lot of hype on them. They do have a lot of excitement on them. Global Esports, though, steady and stable.
Two teams facing off for another chance. This is the first elimination match. Which team will continue the journey towards Masters Madrid? They have proven that they belong. El Diablo has been resurrected. Bleed Esports! It's been just a taste of the Pacific. They have fought and they will keep on fighting. Global Esports!
Alright, so we'll begin the map video for today's second match. We will be conducting a coin toss to determine
Map bans coming in right now for Bleed and Global, and right now I feel like Bleed, they mentioned that you know, they were confident with their map vetoes, and but I feel like, you know, Global, you know, they're trying to be quiet and they're like they're keeping their secrets to themselves for the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, anything you said in the interview could still be kind of relayed over in those last couple huddles. Now, both teams had banned out Ascent initially, and Global Esports are going to continue to ban Lotus as well. So this part shouldn't be too surprising.
Oh, well, this is a little bit of a surprise because Sunset so far has widely been delayed for, you know, that third map that's kind of left open. I haven't really seen that much priority put on it, but Global are going to be selecting this one right off the rip with Bleed starting on defense. So we'll see if they've been able to copy down PaperX's homework fast enough to maybe run a Sage comp on it, or if it's going to be a little bit different, but Bleed themselves opting to go for Icebox.
I like that we're seeing these kinds of maps. I like that we're seeing a lot of Breeze, a lot of Sunsets, and a lot of Iceboxes here.
Yeah, and then the big question on Icebox, of course, once again, is that another map where Chamber can continue to see a lot of usage. Curious to see if Bleed's going to pull that one out. I mean, surely we saw the weaknesses from Global Esports' composition in that last match, so I think Bleed definitely studied that tape.
So far, we've only got Excurred on the Chamber, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So we're gonna see if that is gonna pop up indeed, and we're going into Split as our decider map. Does this indeed favor Bleed Esports?
It's hard to say without seeing a little bit more. I mean, for the they have to try to go through this Sunset first, so we'll see how they're going to be faring there. But it seems like they think that Icebox performance that Global had versus ZETA wasn't the strongest, and that they can continue to really outdo them on that map. So I think that's probably why we're seeing that opted for as that map too.
Yeah, and the other thing is with that Sunset, I mean, obviously Global Esports, they left it open last time too. Now they selected to attack first if it had come to that. Bleed's still going to take the defense, but I was going to say they probably still expect the get-go. They played it during the offseason. Global Esports was playing the get-go on Bind as well, so there is definitely a bit of a read here from Bleed.
Ooh, and we have Ye over on the Viper this time around. So it seems as though, like, you know, he is flexing. He's probably saving that, you know, Chamber pick for maybe a little later.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. But the other thing is it's a very defensive composition. You've got the Cypher and the Viper and the Omen.
Yeah, I mean, very defensive on the side of Global. They are, you know, bringing that get-go into the fold, so it's not going to be the KO here for Russ, which I think actually this would have been the one map that they're playing where the KO could have had the most value. But they also don't have that settle. They don't have that Cypher to really try and disrupt the potential flanks that can be coming through. So it's, again, Global straying away from something that's a little bit more common, but this time, can they execute on it?
Yeah, I feel like, you know, if they're going to play it this way, then they have to do something similar to PaperX where they just go in full force, right? Never mind the backline. If you just keep on going forward, you don't have a backline to worry about. But this doesn't seem like the composition to do it.
Yeah, not the composition, nor the players to do it as well. And I gotta imagine they're gonna go similar to how they played it at, you know, Convergence, where they're going to take space by space and then go for an execute. But now you've got all this defense set up, plus Crazy Guy with those timed recons that could really ruin the execute.
Well, we're gonna find out indeed who pulls through. It's gonna be Bleed Esports versus Global Esports as we step into Sunset. We're gonna toss it on over to your casters, Quack and Asarai.
Thank you so much for that one, Desk, and we are here. Elimination. Global Esports versus Bleed. Both of them really struggled in the previous series that they have played, and there's still the talk of Polvi being amazing here for Global. He really needs to step up for Bleed as well. Durian and Ye, who really is going to be the front man for Bleed, we'll have to see as this series is about to start.
I mean, it's going to be a tough one to say the least, right, Asarai? Ye is just straight up flexing for Bleed, and I don't know if that's where his talents will shine the most, but I guess we shall see, because he has shown that he can perform. His fundamentals are just that strong. Meanwhile, for Global Esports, Polvi just starts things off.
Yeah, that door closes, but the opportunity for Polvi does not. It's going to give a lot of control right now for Global, as they can choose whether they want to keep pressing their advantage on mid, or just hunker all the way back onto that A site, even though all the traps for Egoist is positioned there. GE still have the numbers advantage, as well as, of course, Russ with the wingman to trigger a couple of those and allow them to clear things up even easier.
Yeah, you can definitely feel the loss of Scary right now. You've got those traps, sure, Crazy Guy might be able to rotate over, but they need more reinforcements, and right now, just without the information towards B, it's always a little bit scary, and that's why they're leaving Darian still around Market. But as Global starts to move closer, Elbow, they might just be able to break things open.
Egoist has that camera open 24/7 here. Nade's being thrown out already. There's the wingman for the easy plants. Not even going to be a cancel, deny, or anything. Blaze King does get the kill onto Crazy Guy as well. This is a great start here for Global Esports. Players of Bleed stuck at the back of that A site. That spike is planted right at the precipice of those traps, and Global don't even have to commit into the site itself. They can just stay all day long here on Elbow as the rest of Bleed now start to move right in.
They chill in. Bleed has to go in for that defuse, and as soon as they stick, the spray comes in, and it's just post-plant delays for days.
Ooh, lots of efforts here for both Egoist and Durian. Durian somehow making it work, but time not his friend. It shall be his enemy, and it shall be his team's demise. This first round, it's taken by Global.
Not to what we expected at all. I mean, everyone kind of thought Bleed would have a stronger start. But Global definitely shows that they have surprises in store for us. Polvi is an incredible duelist, and he just waltzed right up the door. Able to take that duel against Scary, and then the rotations through to A. I mean, after losing Scary, Bleed instantly just, you know, shrunk down a little bit. None of them were able to defend the site, and, you know, we watched the whole thing play out. It was just Wingman doing everything.
Yeah, especially the part where they lost so much mid-control, and Bleed never really recontacted it, so they couldn't really figure out where Global was planning to push. It was more of a wait for the stimuli and then react, and that doesn't work when you're up against a team like Global that really likes to take the advantage, especially with a composition that has no sentinels, so you really know that they're going to be banking on the pushes every time they actually make for that contact.
Precisely. So of course, well, this is just a bit of a save round for Bleed. How much can they really pull off? That's the question.
I mean, this is the reason why they still mix up, right, between Ye and Durian, because when Ye joined Bleed, you still know that Durian has that star power. And one of those shots shows us a glimpse of it.
He definitely carries that zombie pride with him, but
the what?
Zombie. That's what Ye was playing under, this weird new name when they were trying to keep it under wraps. But anyway, it's definitely something that you want to respect, because Darian is not someone that you want to underestimate.
True.
But that said, it's just one pick, and while they are moving forward into the A site, it's trampling, it's a lot of noises. Bleed are, well, not quite able to fight back.
Yeah. Again, it's just Global Esports turning into this balled fist that will just punch their way into the site. Egoist, he's got a lot of utility to work with here, even the safety to pick up that Spectre as well. 2 versus 1. He's unaware that the players of Global have just, you know, doubled up here on Elbow, as we can see. So he'll just take his sweet time. I don't know if him cooking like this is going to allow him to win the round, but maybe make it expensive is the way to go. Fortunately, Blaze King, a bit too quick, a bit too, a step forward, step earlier. That's going to be 2 rounds right now for Global.
It does feel like a little bit expensive enough for the time being, as Russ and Polvi might have to go for, you know, slightly smaller weapons for this round, small arms. But Bleed, on the other hand, are starting to get a good idea for this Global Esports playstyle, right? I mean, they've tried to make a bit of noise towards B or mid, and then just, you know, when they have more space, rush over towards A. That's why in this round, we've seen that Viper's toxic screen from Ye being relegated towards A instead.
Polvi's in trouble. Can he get out of harm's way, though? He's alone on an island. He's already brought out his classic because he was just losing so much ammunition as well as HP as he pushes through. He wanted to get that pinch so that his teammates could push over to B main, and when that fails, Global Esports now left scratching their heads, hoping that maybe their other lurker, Benkai, is going to find some contact and success here on top mid. Okay, that's a little bit wishful thinking, you know?
Just shots up over the stairs.
Oh, no way he survives. He didn't. I mean, no shot connected from Russ, but that mosh pit was enough.
And he's got Thrasher available now, but, you know, still a lot of players to work through.
I think I could jump over this, but Scary's prepared to hear the shot. They're here to jump and punish the transition. There it is.
Last player standing.
And there it is.
again, it's just Bleed adapting to these changes. I mean, the calling on this side from Crazy Guy, as soon as they feel a bit of pressure towards A, they start to change things up. Global hasn't quite, you know, put one step ahead of that. So they instantly knew how to feel ready for however Polvi might push, and that's what we saw exactly towards Market.
Again, leaving Polvi to push by himself, I kind of get is what he does best, right? But in Sunset, where there's so many angles, there's so many traps that can really thwart that kind of approach, he needs some backup from his teammates, right? Anyways, Russ, IGL, down in the dumps for the moment. That's going to be Bleed with a point on the board.
Thank you.
So 1-2 right now, the adaptation's coming in. Bears in mind, wondering how Global Esports might change things up. Like you mentioned before, you know, leaving Polvi to push on his own, that might be what he's good at, but at the same time, what works well against, you know, a team like Bleed is strength in numbers, because Bleed, you know, often plays with such strong teamwork, having that coaching and that leadership from Legia. This is what they are known to do.
Yeah. 100% agree. It feels like Bleed, you know, is so fluid with how they move that it feels like they're never really stopped at one point, right? Like when you pick up one player from them, they always have this backup plan that they start unraveling. In any case, Global Esports, they mix things up though. They put Polvi by himself on B main, while the rest of his teammates start moving up onto mid here, which could actually be pretty good because there's no traps right now. Durion might be a few seconds late. He's now here to receive some contact, but that smoke separates the rest of them. Polvi spots out Crazy Guy, cannot finalize the kill though. So that might be an opportunity missed to actually get the numbers in the favor of Global.
Yeah, did pull a little bit of attention away, but unfortunately at this moment not quite enough. 50 seconds left, so they still have some options, but the Thrasher being spent now is just a bit of info. If anything, a bit of a tell for Bleed to actually reinforce the A site. Darian is here with a showstopper available.
30 seconds. He's getting mighty close to first contact right now, and he's not going to be unaware of Blaze King. That might be a big mishap in Bleed's decision-making. And immediately, Global Esports, you see them opening up the site, and that's what they were looking for. All down to Egoist. Global's calls pretty damn solid here, Quack. And again, like I mentioned, Egoist just forced to save the weapon for the moment.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Legia starts to call timeout pretty soon. For now, Global Esports definitely throwing things into plans for Bleed, knowing how to pull the attention away, have Polvi to come up on a flank, of all things. And then at the same time, just the pushes coming out from Russ, Benkai, lightning fast. They have shown that they are capable. And with the way that they're taking this A site again and again, Bleed struggling to adapt. Egoist, he hasn't really, felt all too much currently.
Yeah. I guess this is the polar opposite of what you can do in Sunset, right? Rather than relying on your duelist to enter the site for you, you can slow push it because of the corners, because the corners are made to be able to be pushed slowly like this.
30 seconds.
Granted, of course, there are some over pushes that we've seen here from Bleed, but Global Esports, they've been pretty,
let's go.
What's the word here? They've been pretty slow and methodical at being able to slowly get control of the sites that they're taking. They're not just rambunctiously pushing up into A and haphazardly taking it. They're making sure that every single corner is scrubbed clean and easy for their take.
Yeah, for real, that's exactly what Bleed does. Both teams really taking things slow and steady for now. In contrast to the game that we just saw on the same map. But that's also because this is an elimination match. The tension, the stress is felt. Nightfall executes coming through.
If Durian doesn't get any HP deduction from that Nightfall, yeah, they can't push. Because they already know he's there. He has a double satchel and the showstopper. So unless they wait for this, unless they want to push into the site with a smoke that blots out their vision, this is going to be a big risk for Global here. But they have time right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just a Nightfall. Put Polvi up in this position. Meanwhile, Russ calls for the rotations back over onto A site. They did this in the previous round. Let's see if Bleed can get a good read on it. You've got Ye, who's kind of defending A with his life. You got Scary watching mid and able to rotate back, pivot towards A link. Whether or not it's going to be enough, it's the other thing.
Oh,
it might just be a retake game for Bleed at this point.
There's a tripwire there as well in Link. If anybody pushes that, should be an easy kill here for Scary. Ye is by himself. He's already activated both of his snake bites right now, so he can't really push up without any smoke coverage, so he has to back away and just wait for his teammate to go with him. Now, it's going to be a straight-up firefight here at the back of the site, and it hasn't really panned out well for Bleed, excuse me. Now, Global is going to be left, Bleed is going to be left with Scary and Egoist. Scary is already at the site, but can't really push. Egoist now, are they just... It looks like they want to fight for this. They're not going to save at all. They don't want to risk any more of the rounds. Paranoia activated here. Maybe try to brute their force their way against a team that knows, is the definite meaning of brute force. And that's going to be Global with 4 rounds in this first game.
Yeah, not quite able to do all too much. You could see that that was clearly Bleed's game plan. You know, you mentioned that tripwire, Asarai. Scary did get the 1 frag onto Polvi, but that was it. They wanted to make use of that numbers advantage to come in with the retakes with trades and also Darian's showstopper. But as soon as they planted their foot onto A alley, you got this firefight from Global Esports, who knew exactly how to block them off to prevent that retake from even happening. Very nice anticipated play coming out from Global Esports.
Absolutely. And Bleed here. I did mention how very free-flowing they are and how quickly it seems like they have layers upon layers of plans, but it's definitely not now. We're not feeling Scary anymore as that Clutch King. Oh, that haunt is absolutely phenomenal from Blaze King. Exposes the entirety of that A site, makes it easy for Polvi to find the first pick. His teammates gets another, and you already know it's a secured A site. Firepower is definitely in the hands of Global here. The only thing I'm looking at that could give a chance for Bleed is if Global oversteps their bounds, but even then, they have so much firepower to work with here.
Global Esports very much in the driver's seat right now. Almost makes you question if Bleed looks really uncomfortable on Sunset. I mean, clearly they have the composition for it, and in this round, at the very least, it is, you know, just an eco. But Global are decisively breaking into sites. Blaze King at the end, too.
Through the wall as well. No windows, only the wall.
Very impressive stuff. Now Polvi has the showstopper, too.
And it's scary to think that this is turning into what looks like a one-sided first map. You're talking about how it looks like Bleed just looks absolutely out of their element, and it goes to show. And I don't think we've seen any kind of timeouts here from Legia. I think this has been an issue with the Bleed in the past when they start to lose, you know, contact or any kind of info on the map. They start doing this, but anyways, Polvi rips one out. Is he gonna find Egoist? That's gonna be huge. If he does, Egoist survives. No way, it clips the stairs here, Quack. And that allows him to break through the traps right there. Like Fast can't get in quick enough, and this leaves Russ, the IGL, once again by himself in a position where he might as well just fall down, which he does. And Global Esports gets obliterated here by Bleed.
Might have been a bit of a, I don't know, man, a misplay from the Rocket, or just unlucky, but whatever it is, it favors Egoist so darn much. I mean, this guy who, you know, used to play on SMG, now back onto this team, showing exactly what he's capable of. This is why they put him on that Sentinel role, because he can anchor.
He creates those tempo plays by himself. And one mistake from an opponent definitely unravels the rest of that offense. This is a given thing here for Bleed because it gives enough for Durian to also pick up the operator, which is tremendous. No one else was pushing that B main, so it's a free pick for Durian, and he can just choose to get back. And because of that, as he spots no one as well, that coaxed the rest of Bleed to start getting some information here on mid. Crazy Guy activates the drone, spots out Polvi. Now they're aware Global is coming here on top mid.
And they're very much so ready to receive it too. Polvi, it's an op versus op, but Darian's got the other angle, takes down Lightning fast. And as it happens, Crazy Guy comes back in around just to check.
Yikes. Polvi's on an operator, so you can't really deal with so many angles, slow pushing like that when no one is checking your 6. One at the corner here. Crazy Guy actually picks himself out the operator, wants the challenge, and they will get punished gloriously by Benkai. If he finds some opening here, maybe somehow, some way, there was a world where he can get into A and activate that ultimate and then put himself in a 2v1 manageable situation. Not gonna happen this time. And Bleed, no need to call for those timeouts. They're adjusting on the fly here. And what looked like to have been a strong start for Global, Bleed starting to build things back up.
Very curious as to how it happens too, though. I mean, getting the information, just starting things off a little bit slow, but having an idea, at least a bit of a roadmap as to how Global Esports operates on this map. Now they're starting to feel a little bit more confident, holding the right areas, and at the same time, I mean, just a good little bit of slicing the pie for Benkai. Now coming back into it, the off, a bit of early aggression, but then punish right back. Crazy Guy with the Hunter's Fury.
Yeah, making sure that his teammate is going to be safe. What's the true damage on Polvi here? Benkai snuck himself all the way up to A. Scary unawares. Egoist. Does he dare push A main right about now? Because Benkai might not leave his ultimate. If Egoist can time this perfectly, nobody from Lead is going to be aware of... Oh, never mind. That Thrash is just diabolical.
With that, the punish from Benkai onto Egoist. It's going to be Darian with the showstopper to try to bring things back for his team. It starts things off with the op shot, and that does bring numbers back just by a bit.
Polvi slowly coming into mid. Ooh, Crazy Guy. Thought he bit off more than he can chew. This man's got molars for days. Durian. Does he risk himself to push here with the showstopper? Nah, it's... The ROI isn't good enough.
Save.
Yeah.
Wanting to hold on to that operator. But, I mean, still, thinking about how the round plays out, it's a lot of weird, like, individual fights. Darian with a nice attempt to try to deter them away from B at the very least. But then towards the end, like you mentioned, it was really just Benkai sneaking in. I think part of it is also how the map is laid out and Lead not really able to watch everything. Right, you've got this double controller setup, you've got Egoist on the Cypher, but it's just not quite enough to cover all the bases. There are always these tiny gaps that Benkai, for example, can use to sneak up past alley, sneak a frag, take control over A.
That's the strength that Benkai brings to the table, right? It's his confidence, it's his timing plays that when it works, it puts you on the map. And we saw that happen when he was, well, we didn't see it come into fruition when he was trying to do that against ZETA because he was losing a lot of the fights against Laz. But here, we're seeing the polar opposite of that, which is in benefit of Global Esports.
Precisely. It's lovely to see how Global Esports are starting to move these puzzle pieces to make them all fit together. First of all, you got Polvi, who's a bit of a wild card sometimes, but then Benkai, this proven entity, and we know how he lurks. We know how he hides and strikes when the iron is hot.
Well, his iron is definitely scalding here, Quack.
Bring them down.
I mean, this is so different from the Global that we've seen from a couple of from yesterday's matches. They're so controlled, they're so precise. These guys have truly woken up, and I don't know if they can continue this rampart. GE fighting truly will turn into a GE winning.
Very, very careful. And look at how they're still maneuvering across. Still Benkai on the alert, carefully checking corners. They want to make sure that they can keep the numbers advantage as they execute in, but Scary does not let that happen.
Lightning Fast's already down. Yay and Egoist. Whew, look at this, backside control. Lightning Fast cannot get out. Shut step. Catched up by Yay, 3 kills and Bleed 4-6. Global Esports all turned on their heads with a huge paranoia from Scary.
Yeah, that's exactly what it starts out. Scary. He's the guy who puts up that roadblock. Up around B, I mean, he just has that one paranoia and it just nicely covers the entirety of B main as they push out. He gets away with that one frag. And then the rest of the team comes in at the same time just to prevent them from going into sight easily. There's always that little opening around market, and the timing of the dark cover was a little bit off. So a little bit unfortunate for Global Esports. They couldn't quite break through, and wow. Off of that loss, they might just be the... Oh no, actually it's a Bleed timeout off of their win.
Gia is known for those kind of timeouts where it's not really to recuperate his team, it's more to try building what's already slowly built by the team with these rounds. So with that being said, it's like he's just, again, trying to maneuver, probably figure out how to deal with Benkai's lurks. Because I think has been one of the biggest issues that they've been trying to figure out against Global here, is just how much map control Benkai really brings to the table to his new team.
Yeah, we've seen those looks getting a little bit pesky for Bleed Esports now, but at the same time, I'm wondering what they're going to do. You got this operator, you got the showstopper too. Maybe a bit of early round aggression just to bring the momentum back under their control. We are nearing the end of the first half, and if Bleed can end this 6-6, they will have an easier time as we swap sides. Oh, but okay, we don't see anything too early yet. Global playing things very carefully too.
Okay, spots out the camera there very quickly, breaks it down. Egoist has placed all of his tripwires on elbow here. They're much more okay with fighting A main, or A link, excuse me, than elbow without any of those utilities. Where's the cages though? Does he have no money for the cages?
Not too sure, but at the very least, yeah, there's one up by elbow. He knows that this is a spot that Global has approached many times before and wants to counter it.
Oh, that's a huge hunt. Who's got the here's the party? That is going to be Durion dunking it in the face of Benkai. And this is a bloody take here for Bleed. Somehow manages to get in. Durion throws out the nade. Can he find one? Lightning Fast with the late lurk and the counter late lurk from Yay. It's 1-1, 2 versus 2. Retake will have to be done here by Bleed. But Global Esports, they've doubled up. They got a solid positioning right now. And Durion still holding this operator. We'll have to wait for Yay to double up with him. But Yay just runs into the side and, well, trips up face first into the embracing hands of Polvi and teammate. Happens twice now with Durion and GE really commanding the rounds here when they get those setups.
Especially when they get those setups. 1 second and you spot out like a foot and an arm and you're like, okay, there's more than one person here. I could have fired off a shot, but it's definitely not going to be enough to win out the round. So it's a little bit odd for Ye to swing out like that. I don't know if it's like a little bit of miscommunication, but at the very least, you can say with absolute certainty, Global Esports are fighting.
I love how you just said that. GE fighting. As of course the fans have been clamoring every single time. We've seen it on social media. Always giving their beloved team that support. Polvi's the one right now with the showstopper. How does the not connect on Ye? On the corner. Doesn't matter. Still gets the kill. Man is on a tear here. Global Esports want to make a statement to end this first half if they can. Still have to be very careful as they know that Bleed still has working pieces. They've only found Ye. They haven't got Durion yet, who has been such a thorn with this operator. They're making a lot of noise here on mid side right now, Quack, but they're coming back to A, where Durion seems to be prepared, but is he truly?
Yeah, I don't know how he can escape with this one. Oh my goodness!
He doesn't need to escape, man. He only needs to thrive, and he gets the collateral. Polvi does shut him down very quickly. Damage be done. Has to pick up the spike, 30 seconds. His teammate, Lightning Fast, trying to get that clearance so that there is a lot more opportunity for
30
Polvi
seconds
to
left.
push up onto the A site more securely. The big problem is, can he? Also, just going to point it out there, does Crazy Guy have some nasty little lineup for a default plant because he's got 2 shock darts. I don't know where, I don't know how.
I kind of expect him to be able to
10
do that.
seconds
If
left.
not, at the very least, he's got the recon for his team to come in at the retake. They've got the numbers for it, but Polvi has paint shells too. I don't know if he wants to push out even further though, that's the thing. Because he might get punished, and that's basically going to be the round for Bleed now.
You know, I was thinking that he was going to use all of those utilities of his, but he doesn't really need to. You know why? They're not expecting him to be on the site.
Yeah.
So him just being silent and deadly is already in, you know?
But that said, you know, it also kind of works out because I don't know if it's like Polvi overheating a little bit, but peeking out over the box, I guess he just didn't quite expect Crazy Guy to be on the other side.
Yeah.
So we do end the first half, you know, not with a 6-6, but a 5-7, which again still isn't the worst thing in the world. That say, we shall see if this iteration of Bleed can bring them back with the pistol round. This is Global Esports' map pick after all, and they might actually have an easier time on the defense.
True, and this is the first time we're also seeing Global play this Sunset map, if I am not mistaken. So there's still so many unknown factors of how they've been truly controlling this. And of course, another one of those things is you will not really have any Sentinel, I believe, coming into that second half. So
The Viper.
I mean, we're talking about how the Viper could play as a Sentinel, but doesn't truly play as a Sentinel, right? So they have to learn how to play with that, and very curious to see how they will.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You know, we were talking about it. You don't have quite the traps to really watch your backs or control the map, so it's a little bit iffy sometimes. But, you know, on a map as big as Sunset, does feel like it could be, you know, just enough. At the same time, because you're playing on defense, you just need to delay, really. And as long as Benkai stays hidden well enough, you know, you throw out those utilities, the snake bites, hold off for as much as possible, anchor down the sides, he should be good to go. But then again, comes down to map control and Bleed. The way that they move together on this map, they move as a unit.
Good Crazy Guy committing all of his money for utility. What a total team player.
My eyes are dull.
Okay, so it goes on mid. He wants to check if anybody pushes up on triple with that recon dart, but doesn't find anything. So the rest of Bleed now push up onto A side. Polvi, he almost got decapitated there by Egoist, but decides otherwise. Here comes Benkai. Here's the footsteps, backs away. Bleed, they've been sought after, they've been found out, and Polvi here pulverizes Egoist. That's gonna leave Bleed trapped on A main. If Polvi decides to actually push the tempo right now, and Bleed, they're taking fights that they can't win. We're not done just yet, hold on. Benkai's around the corner here, spotted out by Durion, so maybe this is the fight that Bleed are finally looking for. But there is still so much to unravel from Global Esports. So Bleed decides otherwise to go around. I think they're hoping to maybe find Polvi somewhere lurking, but as we can see, he's somewhere there on top of A link, so they're not going to find anything. But if they go to B, this is where they can find themselves a chance. But with market door being closed, they're going to burn a bit of time waiting, checking, and then in a couple of seconds they have to rush.
Either way, Global Esports holds the advantage, right? And that's the most interesting thing, at least for this round. Although it's a full new squad, they carry on the same statistics from last year in VCT Pacific, having one of the most highest number of pistol round wins as Blaze King taps them all down with a ghost.
That's a huge, huge upset there for Global. 5-8. Bleed also known to make those aggressive force buys, so we're going to see that from Bleed here. And of course, the best weapon against that, which I think Polvi might pick up. Ah, there it is. Outlaw.
Just a bit of a weird thing, you know. Global Esports hasn't really called any timeouts yet. Bleed maybe called one after a round win. And with the way that they're pushing up so slowly, when you got players like Blaze King, Polvi on the other side, the slight micro timings with the way that they peek out all of a sudden, sometimes Bleed just doesn't quite expect it. So it's a bit of revenge for Blaze King as well, right? Because this, you know, was him playing on Boom Esports versus Bleed at Ascension last year. Now finding his win with a new team, new roster on Global Esports.
You're absolutely right. It means, and here's the thing, Bleed also coming off of that high with the pickup on Ye, but it feels like Ye is so out of his element here, whether it's because he's on a new team or he's on a role that he's not really truly familiar with. You can see him struggling. We were showing that scoreboard. He's at the bottom for Bleed as of this point. So you do see the struggles that Bleed are having to face, and Global are just eating that up. Oh, this wall. If it drops, Lightning Fast got a chance. Blaze King first on contact, has a seize, locks them up into the prison. If he pushes out, well, he doesn't need to because Lightning Fast is right there with him. That's going to be a quick cleanup here for Global, and they are terrifying on this control. It's not fast, but it's a slow burn here, and it is scorching Bleed little by little.
I don't know what Bleed needs, but they've got to kind of like cauterize the wound or something, right?
Hey.
Right now, as it goes on, you're starting to lose out in terms of rounds. They get the buy back up in full this time, but the momentum definitely on the side of Global Esports. They're toying with them so much, controlling around the map. And again, you got Polvi on this Outlaw, and the amount of damage that they could potentially put out is deadly. However, in this round, it is a Bleed with full armor, full utility. Let's see what they can do.
And again, it's one of those games where it doesn't feel like there's anything explosive that's happening, but it is by design. Global Esports are playing at such a pace that I feel like Bleed can't really read them in this situation, even if Bleed has that capability to be able to do so.
Yeah, I know it's kind of like feels really slow at times, but then there are these tiny little moments where Global Esports just accelerates just by a little bit.
Yeah.
And right now, towards market, you've got a little bit of vision from Russ as well. They might have heard something towards B main, but that's about it. So the rotation's coming over. They don't see anything.
He spot him.
Might be Lightning Fast, yeah, getting the call over. The toxic screen at the very least is a tell. So now rotation's coming over. As long as Lightning Fast can do his job, you know, he still has that paranoia available. Blaze King as well with a haunt for info.
Yeah. I was actually just about to point that out. How much statistic do we have on how effective Blaze King's haunts have been? Because it's been giving away so much positioning right now. Look at Durian just dodging into the site itself. Like Fast not going to be able to escape that one. Explosion from Bleed is here. Oh, that is a huge mosh pit. That blinds everybody. Yay, just frantically spraying it down. Polvi picks himself up. A Spectre pushes up, but Scary's on top of that case, and that's going to be Bleed 6-9. What a very messy fight, but Bleed comes out on top, at least for now.
Yeah, not being able to buy back up in full might hurt them a little. But you can see it's a slightly better take, a slightly better approach towards the site. You know, being able to pull the attention back and forth. Despite Global Esports having a good read on things, the way that Bleed comes in, you've got Darion and then Scary to find the trades. They make sure that they can control the site safe enough. But again, that's just how Bleed operates. Everything so far in this entire map has been safe for both sides.
Polvi, though, pushing very far forward into the front of his opponents. His teammate giving him some leeway to pick up that orb and back away into A main. If he decides to push up, maybe he can find something, but it seems like Polvi might have overheated a little bit here, jiggling a little bit too much, and Crazy Guy capitalizing. And it's as easy as that. Now, the rest of Global pushing up on mid could put a pinch on the late lurking Ye, but B-side should be theirs. never mind. Ye turns it back, and now he's got that late lurk that GE will have to deal with. And it's deal upon deal. All right, we're not done just yet. It's fine. We're charging in. Benkai's huge. He gets another one. We'll get shut down by Egoist. As dust settles, who's getting the advantage right now? Feels like it's Bleed. Should be. They are pushing lightning fast, but the punishes and the quick trades for Global Esports are just too damn fast, and Bleed can keep up.
As Blaze King approaches from behind, yeah, it's just too much going on in the round, and although Ye got some good picks early on, again, with how big the map is, Bleed loving to move together as a unit, they relinquish a little bit more map control towards, you know, the back and the sides. Unless Scary can really block things off with his smokes, it sometimes just doesn't really work out all too well, and they need a little bit more fragging power right now. You got Crazy Guy who's always there to support. You got Darian who tries to rush in, but then apart from that, no one else is really there to help Darian follow up. So the site kind of falls apart as soon as they make their way in. 6-10 now will be the score, and it's going to be a Bleed that has to save. So I don't know about you, Asteroid, but this map is starting to look like it's almost over.
I feel like I was about to say, you know, never say never, as is, of course, by my favorite movie, Karate Kid with Justin Bieber and Jaden Smith. Anyways.
And Justin Bieber.
And Justin Bieber again, yeah. Durian, though, 6 shot on mid here, but the thing is with Global Esports, right, is if you strike us, cut one head down, 2 will take its place. They are so quick at just reacting to the stimuli that Bleed is dishing out. And this hasn't been Bleed's strongest recontact at all. You can find something maybe for Ye here. Okay, never. As soon as I say that, Ye does something like this. And
El
this makes it
Diablo.
somewhat doable. You're absolutely right. El Diablo heating things up, right? Can they exercise it out of the sight? As the Nightfall used very haphazardly. No follow-up just to scare them, but the pit making it very difficult to them to push over. What is happening here? Egoist, he just pops a couple of shots. He can't find nobody, and Lightning Fast finds Ye left in a 2 versus 1. Yo, what?
A little bit awkward for Egoist in that moment. Coming out of the Viper's pit, I mean, you can see the idea that he had because he's already been spotted inside as Global Esports pushes into the pit. So he tried to do what he could, but just without the firepower, I guess. Kind of whiffing some shots, and Ye at the same time separated away from him. I mean, Ye needed to stay in the pit to keep it up, right? So
yeah.
Global Esports just knowing how to make it work, having that much more confidence to go in for some of these duels. They were decisive, they took things apart, and yeah, although it was a bit of glimmer of hope from star power of Ye, it's still not quite enough to bring Bleed to a decisive win.
Speaking of not going to be enough, oh, hold on, Olby's in trouble here. He decides to go on the other direction that might have been incorrect for him. Russ has pocketed himself onto the corner in the IGL, not falling behind. Let's go. Oh, what a control spray from Lightning Fast and Russ. Egoist now alone. Polvi might not have gotten any kills, but his teammates sure made use of the push outside of mid that he has just done. Neural Theft activated. That's going to expose the positioning. Spike not in the hands of Egoist here, though. And he is looking for a kill rather than pick up the spike first because he does, even though he's exposed his opponents, he does not have the map control to really take advantage of that.
I have retrieved.
Well, let's think about this, right? You got 50 seconds left. You got full armor. You got a rifle. It's not entirely impossible. So he could go in for the spike plant first, but then where do you go after that? You know the full force and might of Global Esports. At least the last 3 players are definitely going to come after you. Russ has the Thrasher.
30
so you
seconds
stay in a spot that's, you know, well concealed enough that Russ can't find you. I guess Market is away. Maybe you sneak back out to the top of mid, come back in with a big flank. That is an idea, but Bankai is watching the back.
Oh my God! No! Russ actually found him! Showing what it means. Yeah, there it is. I mean, whether it's by sheer intuition or because the meter for Thrash was running out, He found him, dude. He found him. That does not feel good as Egoist. Like, he was preparing himself for
Nah.
3v1.
Egoist is not having a good day. I mean, the whip from earlier on, and then now getting hit by the Thrasher like this, Egoist just does not feel good. But on the other side, for Global Esports, the way that they're coming out on this, first of all, I mean, the Thrasher just well-timed. The way that they're moving together, you've got Benkai watching the back. Every base is covered. This is the Global Esports that, you know, knows exactly how to operate, how to move.
This is what they wanted to show us on that first day, on their debut match as well, with this brandishing new roster, right? And there we go.
I think like the most impressive thing right now, or at least in that round, you know, Polvi always like kind of wild sometimes. This Finnish duelist rushes out, dies on his own, he gets information. Apart from that, Russ and Lightning Fast getting those sprays, that was something else. That truly brought the round back for them.
And this is what I've been telling the desk as well when I was with him, as you know, a day ago or so, is Lightning Fast has been not put in a position where he can really shine. And now, with, I mean, him still being on the controller, sure, but he's now put into situations where he can be put into spots where he can actually try to do something else for his team. And he's been sick at it. I mean, he's 9-10-3, but those are impact frags he's been doing.
Oh wow, and completely forgot too, Blaze King actually leading the kill feed because he's picking up a lot of pistol kills and some nice cleanups as well. Now back into it, last ditch effort from Bleed. It's gonna be a bit of a contact play towards B main.
They're just running it down. I mean, everybody from Bleed was shot by the paranoia of Lightning Fast. Lightning Fast still holding inside his own smoke. That's about to dissipate pretty soon here as he pushes out and covers the entirety of the Bleed conspiracy on B main. Double satchel from Turion. Man is clean. Benkai's by his lonesome, and that's going to be a quick clean round for Bleed here. Not the end of the world just yet. They got 5 rounds. If they can survive it, they can push into overtime. But of course, GE always fighting.
Always, always. But of course, think about how that round turns out. I mean, it started from a timeout. Perhaps Legia just kind of anticipated such a push and having the players positioned right outside B main enabled them to go for such a fight. A little bit odd for Global Esports, you know, the last final rounds to really go in for a play such as that, but whatever it is, it puts Bleed out on top.
And resets their economy too. Durian, they're committing their ultimates here, Quack. Very much so, everything. I mean, sure, you know, if you can secure the rounds, might as well. Polvi, is he gonna stab him? No, like, oh, okay, he still gets it. I'm losing my mind, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so sorry. I thought, crazy guy just at the nick of time, right? And then Polvi just panics a little bit, brings out the classic, hits the alternate fire, tap burst. Sure, let's go with that. What is happening? The timings have been so wacky this round, but somehow, some way, Bleed clears it up.
Yeah, very wacky all across the board. But again, it starts off with Darian and that commit with a showstopper into elbow. It kind of throws things in for a bit of a loop, and then maybe, you know, some positioning coming through with Polvi trying to sneak up behind. But nonetheless, once Bleed gains control over site, you know, I mean, once they know exactly what's about to happen, they're able to kind of come in